All right, let's try it again. Can you guys hear my voice out there? And all right, now I know it's coming through. This is a problem. The last 2 weeks, I had to log out and log back in for the sound to work. This is an absolute problem. I'm gonna have to email them or just switch to something else. But this is a problem. Andy McPhail is out there saying peace to everyone, myself included, and the KWAZ family. Thank you for that. He drops a one saying he can hear me now. That's comforting, but it's a shame that this isn't working the way it's supposed to first time out. So I apologize once again for the delay in sound. What we're going to discuss tonight, we have a hodgepodge of topics tonight. Once again, you guys could join the Discord. Click the link at that's in the description and pinned to the top of the chat. Click the link, join the Discord, navigate to Shoot the Breeze topics channel, and you can post your topics as well. Make sure you post a prompt that's no longer than 2 sentences, right? Post a prompt and have an attachment to it, be it YouTube, X, sometimes TikTok is used here. Try not to use stuff from ABC News and Disney and Netflix. They and ESPN, they and FIFA, they will get you caught up with YouTube. But it's important. Don't just post a video and it's an hour long and I don't know what the timestamps are. I don't know what the discussion is supposed to be. So you gotta follow some instructions, black people. Follow some instructions if you don't mind. With that said, what are we discussing tonight? We're discussing Miss Teen USA. This is an old clip from 2007. Which was worse, the question or the answer? We're going to talk about black wealth may fall in 2053. What should we do? We're going to talk about how popular athletes are being politically educated and driven to certain aspirations. Hint, Floyd Mayweather and Israel. Some of you probably saw that this past week. We're going to discuss, should a stepfather be required to pay child support if they have been involved with them since they were little? I thought that was an interesting one. And we also have a topic here, is music getting more wholesome as time goes by? We also have a possible, in case those conversations are too short and we're not going to end at 11. There's the possible we'll talk about the Italian guy who was caught for the assassination of the United Health CEO. So those are topics we have tonight. Come one, come all. Click the link, join the panel, be a part of the discussion. And if you're in the chat, make sure you speak up. Let us know you're here. Add your voice to the discussion as well. I'm going to start the show officially. And on the other side of this, what I like you guys to do while we're doing the intro is hit the like button, repost this to your social media, and let others know what you're doing on a Saturday night. So do stay tuned. What's going on?
Hello there, dear listener. We hope you're enjoying this lovely discussion. If you're not already aware, this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio, a Pan-African nationalist and Garveyite network committed to showcasing the rich and varied thoughts of African people We have an exciting lineup of shows that we think you'll enjoy, including
the Bitter Medicine Podcast.
I think black people require too much buy-in. Like, we constantly have to sell black people on things that are beneficial to black people.
The Pro-Black Perspective Podcast.
I'm fearful that our people are not really studying how to get ahead, and we're kind of, continually staying behind.
The Harsh Reality Podcast.
To me, it don't matter. I think people are so dumbed down, it wouldn't matter what you reveal to them. They still are in the matrix. They're in the simulation. They're going to keep doing what they did. They lemmings. So to me, it don't matter, man.
The Learning Curve Podcast.
Sexual access has never given you economic empowerment. The only person who has ever been economically empowered by a sexual relationship is the wasp and his woman.
The Cathedra Cheek Show.
When we start rising up to fight for our own, I guarantee you they'll stop doing what they're doing. I guarantee you they would have let their brother go. They was waiting to see what black folks was going to do.
Brother Bakari Podcast.
Black people love to claim folks that hate them, right? They're a slave master, and they are ashamed of who they really are.
The Forecast Radio.
Like, if you pray to the same deity as, like, your enemy, and that God blesses your enemy more than you may want to reconsider who you praying to,
And Tanzan, African Mind.
Africans generally are welcoming of everyone. Sometimes, to my consternation, I think that they should be less, welcoming.
If you love our podcast network, we would be grateful if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our website at www.kwazradio.com for more information. Thank you for tuning in. And now, back to the program.
Yes, indeed. Some hiccups here, but it's all good. Make sure you guys are checking out all the other shows on KWAZ Radio. The one show that's not mentioned in that spot is Kofi the Black Critic. Make sure you guys are tuned in to Kofi the Black Critic as well. I see we have Afro Native World out there saying peace to Anthony. I see Anthony shouting out all the shows and a lot of the people who are around KWAZ Radio. Thanks for that, Anthony. I see Trigger Happy is with us this week. Good to have you back. Like I said, it's a hodgepodge of topics tonight, and we'll try to get through them. As it stands right now, there's no other panelists here with me tonight. But I'm not going to let that stop the show. Neither should you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. It comes with an attachment. We will watch and we will discuss. So Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, which is worse, the question or the answer? This is referring to Miss Teen USA 2000. This came with a video. Let me share my screen. Let me make sure I do all the things right this time. This came with a video. Make sure you guys can see it. So that's one thing I don't like with this new streaming service. Too many extra steps, too many places to make mistakes. But anyway, Should the Breeze topic number 1, which is worse, the question or the answer? Miss Teen USA 2007. I'll play the video. I might play it twice, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much.
I gotta say, I'm gonna play that one more time. That kind of hurt my head a little bit. That kind of hurt my head a little bit. I see some comments out there. I'm going to comment to those in a second, but that actually gave me a little bit of a headache. I'm kind of uncertain what the hell she said. If you guys think you understood what she said in the chat, drop a comment explaining to me what she said. Explain like I'm 5. What the hell did she say just now? I'll play it one more time.
South Carolina.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much. South Carolina.
Thank you very much, South Carolina. I played it a third time. I still couldn't pick up what the hell she was talking about. I'm gonna kind of rely on you guys in the chat to relay your thoughts on what she said, so I can make some sense of it. Anthony McPhail in the chat says she sounds like a classic airhead. I agree with that. Earlier, he said his mom bought them a globe when he was like in the 3rd grade, right? Trigabi 262 Plus is on the same kind of time as me. He says, LOL, I was saying the same thing in my head. What is she saying? LMAO. No idea. Real Black Gentleman asked earlier in the chat, what's wrong with StreamYard? StreamYard has gotten twice as expensive as it used to be. I could have dealt with the price that it was, but the price that it's become now, it's oppressive. And it's not like I'm a big channel that's raking in, super chats and all this type of stuff. So that's it was a little too heavy on my pocket. So I switched to EV Mux. Brother Bakari suggested it. Switched to EV Mux, and it's much cheaper. It's a decent streaming app, but I find it to be a little bit buggy. And the usual problem is you'll find that it a little bit buggy, and you'll find that it has a different, what's the way to put it again, a different way of how it works. So in StreamYard, you kind of expect that when you set up a stream, it stays pretty much the same from one week to the next. Here, you got to constantly add little elements back in and all that kind of stuff. And while you're live trying to do this stuff, that's not very helpful. Jacadero, I haven't seen you in a minute. Jacadero says trying to get into the stream, but it continues to crash. Are you trying to get on the panel, or are you trying to view on YouTube? I'm not exactly sure which it is. Let me know if it's a problem with getting onto the panel. In fact, what I'll do, I will copy the link again and just drop it in the chat, because Black Steel says he's getting on now, but that was a little while ago. I haven't seen him come up yet. So, oh yeah, there it goes. Buana says we're getting errors trying to get on. Okay. That's strange. Let me fix that by dropping this right here. So there's the link for anyone who wants to join the Discord. What I'll do is I'll play the link one more time to see if I could finally understand this thing. And hopefully by that time, panelists will have joined, so do stay tuned.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries, so we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
Jesus. A few people have joined now. I guess that arrow was prohibiting people from getting up here. Real Black Gentleman says, run on sentences. Juana says it's saying we aren't able to initialize the session. I don't know what's going on there. So there's the link posted in the chat. You guys use that instead to get up on the panel tonight. With that said, I have some panelists who joined me now. I got Black Steel here. Black Steel, how are you this week?
I'm doing good, Kaku. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I'm trying. Thanks for coming through.
Yeah, that was a struggle to listen to, man. That she was just rambling with her word salad. She didn't know what to say, you know. She's up there for a beauty pageant, it's not a brain pageant. You know, she's just trying to do her best to string words together, hoping it sounds right. But yeah, it's not. The question wasn't a bad question, but you know, I don't know the girl, but she's definitely having a blonde moment. You know, that's definitely what she was doing right then at that point. So she was just trying to put some words out the time she was concerned. You know, everybody around knew it was stupid. She probably knew it was stupid, but she didn't know how to respond to the fact that most Americans can't read maps. What do you say? You realize the truth is that over half the people in this country read below a sixth grade level. A lot of them can't read the instructions on their medication. This is a nation of idiots, you know, and this is compounded by the education system, by the phones, by the everything is done for them, the AI. There's not a lot of critical thinking being done in the United States. And this is very much by design. The education system has been under attack in this country for, you know, at least since they integrated school, they've been attacking the education system. So this isn't really anything to be surprised about, at least I think. Yeah, so I'm not surprised. I'm more just annoyed. But then again, she was just spitting out words out. She didn't know what she was talking about. And that's okay. You know, she's in a beauty pageant. She's not going to be a teacher, thank God. She's not going to be educating the young people. She's not going to be in charge of making maps. She's just a blonde white girl. She's probably been able to coast by on her looks all her life. it is what it is. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I appreciate Black Seal. So Black Seal says the question wasn't bad. Obviously, the answer was pretty bad. Let's welcome in Jacadera. I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. How have you been?
Man, it's great to be back. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
Man, it's great. It's good to be back. Yeah, she's a bimbo. To say it lightly, man, she's a bimbo. But I don't think that we should expect much from beauty pageant contestants because it's in the name beauty pageant. Often the narrative in the Western world is that the better looking the person, the more likely that they lack intelligence. What's interesting is that her answer confused me on the question. So I'm glad that you replayed that because I had to hear the question several times because her answer just threw me off.
Yeah, the answer was just wild. In chat, Real Black Gentleman just said run on sentences. And then he quotes and so and like she just I don't know, man. It's wild. Also in the chat, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says geography should be one of the things. Sorry, geography should be one thing Pan Africanists excel at because of this. Very important for political education. He goes on to say, not even just physical geography, but cultural geography too. I agree with that second thought 100%, and I don't disagree with the first one either. Afro Native World says, yes, Trigger, I incorporate geography in my Pan African Our Story class. Yeah, if you're gonna teach, if you're gonna have a African centered or Pan African centered education, geography, in particular cultural geography, would be super, super important. With that said, let's welcome in Buana this week. Buana, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope you all brothers are good. I don't know why Black Steel allow his Snow Bunny to go up there and embarrass herself like that, but I don't know. When Black Steel was telling me, Black Steel, Black Steel, that's it, you man. When Black Steel was telling me about the education system in America, I was very skeptical. But when I heard the question was, she said 1 in 5 Americans can't point to where America is on the map. If that is true, I am just blown away by that. Because Black Steel, what is the literacy rate in the United States, brother? If you know.
Well, I mean, there's literate and there's functional literate. I did say that the reading rate the reading level is around 6th grade. Most over half Americans read below a 6th grade level.
Okay.
But overall, I said the United States literacy rate, I had to look it up, is 79%.
79% is not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad.
79% of adults in the country have literacy English skills that is sufficient for tasks like comparing and contrasting information, paraphrasing, and making low-level inferences.
Low-level inferences.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That explains a lot sometimes when you have these kinds of discussions, because when you want to appeal to a whole lot of people, we always have to get the discussion of knowing your audience.
Right.
And sometimes I wonder why some shows are popular and some shows are not popular. Like let's just say like a show like this, right? We are discussing political matters from all over the world. You have to bring something to the table, some political awareness or even a little bit of political sophistication to be able to follow along and understand the discussion. And if you can't point to where your country is on a map, I mean, these kinds of conversations are going to be very difficult for you. So I understand why a large audiences are attracted to a particular message or a particular messaging. I think that one of Tariq Nasheed's, even though he's a controversial person, one of his brilliance is putting a lot of his ideas in cartoon form and making it simple enough for any ridiculous person on the street to look at it and laugh and still get a lot of messaging and ideas within the context of how you're trying to frame it. Because like I say, these kinds of discussions, the discussions that we have on this panel, unfortunately, sometimes is a little bit beyond the gate of regular, maybe don't say regular people, but regular people worldwide. Maybe I'm thinking about that question and the ideas of why is it that she didn't even understand the question enough to answer it. You know what I mean? But if you coming from a perspective where most of your people are literate and you really don't need literacy to get you through life, all you need is being pretty. Being pretty, I would understand why she doesn't take even a question or answering a question seriously, or even understanding the question enough to answer the question effectively. So it just, I don't know, man, it speaks to a whole lot of different kinds of things, and it's not just in America, it's just all over. Because I come up with the idea a long time ago because I believe a lot of black people are bluffing, but it's not only for black people but white people as well. You'll be surprised who's bluffing to the world and trying to present themselves as something what they are really not. But I'll leave it there though, for right now.
Well, here's a follow up question, because I don't want to miss the idea here that this is Miss Teen USA, right? So this is a teenager. How sophisticated should a teenager be when it comes to geography, cultural geography, etc.? Let's talk about black kids in particular. How sophisticated should we want our teenagers all the way up to 19, right? How sophisticated should we want them to be? Anyone
At
can answer.
least, at least to the level where you could point your finger at where your country is. Better yet, the state that you live in. Better yet, if you could, because it's very important to know where you are in the world geographically. You know what I mean? Placement is important. Spatial awareness is extremely important. Some people, you can't even give them directions to certain things because they don't understand landmarks, distance, time to get there. These awareness kinds of ideas are extremely important to the human being. You know, and when you take that out of the equation, the human being is just lost in space. They're a space cadet. I think that that's an important feature, even for a teenager. Even for, because teenagers drive. Teenagers drive. They should know where they are, even within their state, even within the country that they live in. They should be able to look on the map. What if the machines break down, Koku? What if the satellites that's giving us electrical maps on our phones, what if that breaks down and you have to be able to find yourself on an actual map itself? What's gonna happen to you, man?
So to your point, Buana, most people are dependent on technology, right? Most people have GPSs in their phones or GPS in their car. So when I was a kid, I was at ROTC. We learned how to use a compass. We learned how to read a map. I was in Boy Scouts. I learned how to read a map. I learned how to, compass, things like that. Uh, these kids ain't really learning that. This is the iPad generation. This is the Coco Melon and the Blues Clues generation or Bluey generation. These children are given an electronic device from the time they're able to sit upright, and that's basically their output. So the ability to retain information. Now, I know when this year started, I made sure to break down the continents. We made kids go over continents. We went over reading map skills, learn how to read a map. Now, did they retain that information? If I was to test them on it tomorrow, would they be able to tell me how to read a legend, how to be able to convert miles into kilometers? I gotta say, it would. I would be shocked if they did retain that information. But it's the dependence on electronics, um, and it's just overall the retaining skill anyway. Much of the knowledge that children are taught, it is not just reading; it's math as well. These skills are starting to decrease. But I need to put this in the proper context because education has been under assault in the United States. I'm going to speak just as the U.S. Ever since they desegregated the schools, right? What happens is that once the schools became desegregated, white people began a flight, white flight from the suburbs. I mean, from the inner cities. White people created schools that had charter schools or private schools to send their children to with the intention of giving their kids an education away from black children. Right? They didn't want to segregate. They didn't want to go to school with black kids. So many of the best teachers, the best supplies, they get sent to these private schools, these charter schools. Many of these charter schools are funded by the state in many cases. If your school gets a low grade, you can get a voucher from the state to pay for private education. Many of these private schools, not necessarily better, but many times they're going to have a majority white population. But the idea that the education under attack is that they really want to dumb down the American populace, right? They don't want people thinking too hard. Conservatives tend to do better in elections the less educated people are, right? People who are less educated tend to ask less questions. They tend to be less involved in their government. This is a desire, especially the conservatives. They don't really want that many people voting. They tend to do better when people don't vote. So this is something that they're concerned about, dumbing down the masses. And this is a pattern you see, again, going all the way back to the desegregation of schools in the 1950s in the U.S. This is a long-standing issue, is that how do we spend the least amount possible towards young people? Many times kids are studying to pass the test, not studying to get the information. They just want to pass the test so they can graduate. They graduate from school because, of course, the less students you have to graduate, the worse your school's record is. A lot of kids graduate, they don't really have no business crossing that stage. We have something called credit recovery in our school where the kid fails, they're a senior, they're put in this credit recovery class to recover that credit so that way they can graduate. So they could skip every day. I have some kids who skip every day. Don't show up to class, go to credit recovery, and then walk across that stage come May. That's garbage. That's garbage. What are you getting? What are you retaining? But the numbers make the school look good. So the school is an A school because they have a 97% graduation rate. You have a 98% graduation rate. But how much knowledge are these kids actually getting? A lot of times they just pass through just to graduate.
So, I don't know if Jacadero wanted to add anything. Let me know if you do. But one of the things I am concerned with, and I think Trigger Happy's on the same page with me. I'll read his comment in a second. But I think every black child, no matter where you are on the map, should not only know your country, but I think you should also know where African countries are located. I'll tell y'all something. I won't put you guys on the spot by asking if you know where all the countries are located in Africa, but I'll tell you, sometimes for whatever the reason, I have to look up where is this European country. I shouldn't say no clue, but I have very little memory of where European nation states are. And oftentimes I need to actually go and look it up and see. Africa, not so much. I don't have a problem with that so much, but European countries and stuff, I do have this issue. So I'm curious. Do you guys think that diasporans should know where continental countries are, and should continental Africans know where we are out here in in this hemisphere? But before you guys answer that question, let me just read some comments real quick. First of all, Brother Bakari's out. He said peace and Black African power. Shout out to Brother Bakari. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says for Black people, kids should know all African countries and countries where Black people are in high concentration, both the eastern and western flank, then all countries entirely. So Afro World said yes. He said both to yes. I guess yes to both. We have Jamelia in the chat saying good night. So good night to Jamelia. That seems like a new person. So thanks for coming through. Trigapi says, I can name all the African countries and even African island countries like Seychelles and Mayotte. I think I probably know all countries. Hold on. I think I probably know all countries, but African countries is what I do well the most. He goes on to say, I know Melanesian and Caribbean too. That's great. Anthony McPhail out there says, absolutely all Africans should know where we are. So I'll throw it back to the panel. Are you guys, well, first, let me, just out of curiosity, you guys well versed in the European
So
setup?
I don't want to brag, but you're talking to the 1994 Eisenhower Middle School Geography B champion. So, I even made it to the state finals, but I got eliminated, and I always remember the question that got me anyway. But I can find any country in the world. You know, you tell me the name, I'll find it, no problem. Uh, but that's how I got there because geography was always a thing for me. Um, I can find any country. If you name it, I'll find it. But that's not a skill that's really taught, right? People struggle to find the continents. You should know that. I think everybody should know at the very minimum. At the very minimum, you should know all the continents. You should be able to locate most countries, most major countries. Yeah, people are going to be stuck on you say a country like Andorra. Where the hell is Andorra, right? Where the hell is Equatorial Guinea? Some people are going to be stuck on that, but I think you should be able to locate the major countries. You should be able to locate Africa, Asia, North America, South America, Australia. You should be able to know those just by looking at them. A lot of kids don't know that. I had kids didn't know where India was. If you give them a blank map, no lines on it, point to India, they're not going to know what general direction that you're looking at. They're just not because these skills aren't taught. A lot of time, again, people teach to the test. Another thing too is that, especially when it comes to parents, they're going to be like, "Hey, why is this important? Do they need this to get a job?" Right? Everybody wants to grow up, graduate school, so that way they can get into the workforce. And people don't just like learning for learning's sake anymore. It has to be towards a goal. So, why am I doing this? Am I going to be able to get a job from this? Do I need this to do this? And if they don't need it, they're not going to really take it seriously. And that I think is a big issue. I think along with the illiteracy rates, it's the lack of parental support in many cases too, because the parents don't know, the kids don't know, parents don't know. So there's the problem. The parents don't know. The parents don't think the kids should know. But people should know at least the continents, are at the very least.
Anybody else want to chime in there?
Yeah, I think that it is good to know different parts of the world. I think that that's a very important thing, especially in the African continent and even the Caribbean continent. Well, the Caribbean and the Americas, because what happened, and not only just knowing where the places are, but have a little bit of understanding of the people as well. Because I don't know if you know this, but when I am speaking, if I am speaking to an African person, let's say when Tanzan was first introduced to us, right? The only thing she could associate me with was Jamaica, Bob Marley. They put you in the frame of understanding the world through a context that is in my area, but it's I am not a Jamaican. I'm not a Jamaican. And it wouldn't offend me if someone was to refer to me as a Jamaican, but there is this difference between a Jamaican and a Bahamian. I would care And when she started mentioning a lot of little stereotypes about Caribbean people, I would wish that African people were to know the people within the Caribbean, so they wouldn't fall to a lot of the generalizations at times. And it's not their fault. Their conditioning is the same as ours as well, where Africa becomes a big continent and the people in it are just Nigerian. When I hear these anti-African conversations, they always stare to it being anti-Nigerian, as if Africa doesn't have 50 plus countries within it with distinctive cultures. Some African countries don't even speak English. Some Africans have never met a Nigerian, and then we lump a whole 1.2 billion people within a big country context when they are very different from one another. So I think that for us having a little bit of sophistication about the world and curiosity, not sophistication, curiosity, human curiosity about the world and learning about other kinds of people. I think it would be important to not only understand where they are in the world, but understand, humanize these people by trying to gain a little bit of a greater understanding and contextualize who these people are. Because all Caribbean people are not just Jamaican and Haitian. Yeah, right? So I think, and one other thing I wanted to say. One other thing I wanted. I think that it is important. I think that it is important to to know other kinds, groupings of people within the American context, because America is a international country. Well, some parts of America, like Florida. Florida, it would be to your advantage to know Spanish. It would be to your advantage to at least know Spanish. Even in an English speaking country like the United States of America, it would be to a great advantage of yours to know Spanish. If you go into one of these metropolitan centers like New York City, it would be good for you to have more than one language, or understanding about more than one culture, because not only will it improve your standing in the place where you are, but you are able to enter different kinds of contexts. I think it'll be to your advantage to do that. If you're in California, I'm thinking it'll be to your benefit to understand Spanish as well. So I understand students just want to get a job, but not only getting a job, but being a well-rounded person is important as well, because you could be able to be very versatile in very different kinds of contexts, especially if the state that you reside in is an international state where you have people from all over the world coming there to exist. you know. And yeah, that's what I have to say about. I kind of going off of the topic, but I'm thinking it's very important for us as African people to understand each other outside of, okay, that person is from Africa. Okay, what about Africa? Which country? What do they practice? Is he a Muslim African country, which is different from countries which is Christianized? Okay, that person is a Caribbean person. Okay, where in the Caribbean? Is he Dominican Republic? Is he Cuban? Is he Jamaican? Is he Bahamian Trinidadian? These people have different contexts with different kinds of histories. So sometimes you gotta know very well who you're speaking to, or you might offend them unknowingly. Unknowingly. So I think it's important to do that. But that's a whole nother matter. That's a whole nother matter. But I'll stop there.
In the chat, Anthony McPhail says, and we also need to stop referring to Europe as a continent. It's a peninsula, if anything. Eurasia, one landmass. Also, we have Cheryl is out there in the chat. She says, greetings. Afro Native World spoke to what Buana was just speaking to about the Hispanic Latino fallacy doesn't help either. I'm just kind of cherry picking some comments here because there's so many to go through. Trigger Hobby 262 Plus says, I don't know. Nigerians seem to be active and everywhere on the continent. Probably some rural groups don't meet a Nigerian. KW Don 7 is out. He said he had an encyclopedia set growing up. Oh, that's cool. That's real cool. KW Don 7 goes on to say there's an assumption by non-black people that every Caribbean black person is Jamaican. Yeah, when I first came to New York, I got that too. Oh, you Jamaican? No, So yeah, it's a thing. Trigavi 262 plus says, for me, I already knew the black Spanish speaking and Portuguese speaking diaspora because of world football. So I was never surprised that black people were in South and Central America. Afro-Native World says, what Buana said is real. If you're an English-speaking Caribbean, people think you're Jamaican. If you're Spanish-speaking black, they think you're Dominican. Yeah, it's a lot of generalizations in that way. Cheryl says, I'm only interested in learning African and Carib languages. When Buana was talking about Spanish, if you're in Florida and stuff like that, that thought crossed my mind. I figured someone will feel the same way. Should we be investing more into colonizer languages, or should we be trying to get away from it? That's trying to get away from it by practicing an African language. That's a conversation that we've been having, but needs to really be had by the entire group of us, I guess. Cheryl says, if I learn Spanish, then I'm going to the black parts of South America. All right. Is there any other last thoughts on this, Jackadary? You've been kind of quiet, but is there any other last thoughts on this prompt?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. With that said, then let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 2. Shooter Breeze topic number 2 says, black wealth may fall in 2053. What should we do? This probably means African American. This probably means America's Africans and their wealth. This takes us to an article titled African American Wealth May Fall to Zero by 2053. It says you can have a glamorous 6-figure salary, advanced degrees, and an executive title at a large corporation and still be impacted by the negative net worth virus that is prevalent in black communities. According to the Road to Zero Wealth report published by Prosperity Now and the Institute for Policy Studies, the median wealth of black Americans will fall to zero by 2053 if current trends continue. For decades, we've been told that education is the great equalizer. Unfortunately, more education does not automatically translate into more household wealth in black communities. Ain't that the truth? The latest Federal Reserve Board survey of consumer finances shows that a black person with a bachelor's degree has a median net worth that is only 2/3 of the median net worth of a white person with no bachelor's degree. Let me read that one more time. The latest Federal Reserve Board survey of consumer finances shows that a black person with a bachelor's degree has a median net worth that is only 2/3 of the median net worth of a white person with no bachelor's degree. On top of that, student loan debt has delayed the wealth building dreams of many educated African Americans. The National Center for Education Statistics, NCES, noted that an estimated 77.7% of black students borrow federal student loans to pay for higher education, as opposed to 57.5% of white students. Studies continuously show that black students are more likely to go in debt in order to live the dream of walking across the stage as a college graduate. Going to college is the first business decision many people will make, says Jeff Wilson II, author of The Lies Our Parents Were Sold and Told Us, and principal at the W2 Group accounting firm. Quote, you don't go to college to build wealth, you go to college for a network so you can generate higher income producing opportunities. There's no doubt about it. Education has helped many African Americans improve their socioeconomic status and gain access to many of the luxuries of life. Studies show that education has proven to increase earnings potential, but the income gained from pursuing higher education is undercut when you have to take out large sums of student loan money without a plan to pay it back. The interest adds up, and you will end up paying more than you borrowed if you don't understand the student loan repayment process. If the economy is growing at 3%, you have to earn 6% to build wealth. your income has to grow faster than the economy. Unfortunately, if you have massive amounts of student loan debt, your earnings will not grow faster than the debt burden that just kicked in, says Wilson. The statistics are even grimmer for African American women. Many reports have shed light on the dismal link between education and net worth. While black women are being applauded for being the most educated demographic in the United States, there is a harsh reality that undermines this acknowledgement, which is net worth still remains low. So here's some stats. Single black women with a bachelor's degree, ages 20 to 39, have a median net worth of minus 11,000 to $0, while the white woman has a net worth of $3,400 to $7,500. Married black women with bachelor's degrees, 20 to 39, have a median worth of minus or negative 20,500 to $7,700, while white women have a net worth range of about 19,000 to 97,000. Single black women with a bachelor's degree over 60 have a median net worth of about $11,000, while white women have a net worth of $384,000. Married black women with a bachelor's degree over 60 have a median net worth of $424,000, while white women have a net worth of $778,000. What's the solution? We have to change the conversation from working harder to working smarter. The harder you work for someone else, the more taxes you are subject to pay. I'm not just talking about income taxes. There are lifestyle taxes. The communities of color disproportionately pay that no one really talks about, says J.D. Smith, a Chicago-based wealth coach for Wealthy Women Daily. We have to be equipped with the knowledge to transform the income we make into wealth we can keep. Your money has to start working for you if you want to build wealth. The stock market has been one of the greatest generators of wealth in the last decade. No matter the level of education and hard work that has been put in by African Americans, many have not been able to take advantage of stocks as one of the best wealth building opportunities that occurred after the Great Recession of 2008. Wealth flows through us, not to us, says Smith. We are constantly transferring money from one institution to another. We go to school and have to take on additional jobs to fund our education and overall living expenses. Money typically goes from our jobs to the education system, and this pattern doesn't stop after graduation. When we get into the workforce, money often flows from our jobs to pay hefty mortgage and student debt payments to keep up with the lifestyles of our colleagues. We need to allocate more money toward investing if we want to build black wealth. So that was from the Black Enterprise Contributors Network. Thanks to the poster for making me having to read a bunch on a Saturday night, but it's all good. That was an interesting thing. I'm going to keep up the stats here. Hopefully this is on the screen. These stats are important. So for those of you in the future who might be listening to this entire episode or the clip of this Shoot the Breeze topic, these are some very interesting statistics to look at here. One of the things that jumps out immediately is that if you're married, you're better off. Let me see what my panelists have to say to all of this. Let me start with Jacadero. We haven't heard much from you. Let's start with you. What say you to this?
I'm actually on the optimistic side about this. Reason being is they're not specifying. It's just funny that because we're in the day and age now where the Black Americans want to distinguish themselves from other Black groups in the United States. And since this is an article specifically referencing the Black community of the United States, I think that the more that African and Caribbean immigrants migrate to the United States, it's actually going to help this case. It's actually going to bring this up. The examples that I have is I'm here in the Midwest, and I was just in Sioux City, Iowa, and not only are there Ethiopian restaurants, but there's Ethiopian grocery stores, Somali grocery stores. There I believe there's a hookah spot that's Ethiopian. If it's not Somali, it's Ethiopian. I partaked in that last week, so that's how I know these things. But and then on the East Coast, I hear constantly. I have yet to be there, but I hear that the DMV area is heavily populated with Liberian, Nigerian, Cameroonians, and and then the Ethiopians. There's a spot in DC that's specifically called Little Ethiopia. If they continue to migrate and reside here, more and more kids are going to be born, and those generations are slowly going to call themselves the African Americans, and rightfully so. So I say that I'm looking at this optimistically. I'm saying that by 2053, I think that the Black American population will actually be contesting with medium wage average salaries of those of their counterparts like Latino and Asian communities.
I appreciate it, Jack Doe. Yeah, when I used to frequent Maryland and pass through DC, down in that area, Ethiopians are big time, big time business owners for sure. To be honest, I didn't even notice Nigerians and whatnot, but the Ethiopians in particular, with their restaurants and stuff like that, they are big business owners down there. So thanks for that, Jack Darrow. Um, with that said, let's hear from Black Steel on this one. Black Steel would say it.
Well, I disagree with what Jacadero is saying. The existence of having a business, I mean, that's all well and good. But the reality is that America is a racist country. That's point blank, period. The racial wealth gap, that's what we're really talking about, is the racial wealth gap, right? The racial wealth gap has always been there, right? Black people cannot work their way out of racism. So we really have to question what it is what are we trying to do, right? We're never going to live in the United States of America as equal partners. And that's not to say that okay, black people shouldn't work towards having a goal. But the reality is that we need revolution. We need Pan Africanism, right? This whole thing trying to work, what's the expression? Work twice as hard to have half as much as they have. That's old. And I think that we're in a hamster wheel trying to keep up. And the more we run, the more we lose. And the minute we start keeping pace, they change the song on us. You know, for years it would talk about, oh, put your kids in STEM, put your kids in STEM. They're gonna, and these STEM jobs are being lost left and right to AI. Do trucking, do over the road trucking, learn a trade. And every time we try a new avenue, no matter how hard we work, we're still standing in place. The reality is that we live in a capitalist society where the wealth is funneled, is trickling up, right? Capitalism doesn't create wealth. What it does is that it distributes wealth to the top 1%. So even while black people are talking about losing all their wealth by the year 2050, the top 1% of this country gained over what over trillions of dollars over the same time period, and that's by design, right? So I think that, and another thing too, I didn't like the framing talking about black people living luxurious lifestyles or trying to keep up. No, black people are just trying to live. It's not an issue of us wanting to live in luxurious houses. It's a matter of us wanting to have a home. It's a matter of us just wanting to be able to have a car to get back and forth to work, able to feed our children nutritious food. Over half of black wealth was lost, over half. This is during the 2008 housing crash, right? This is the greatest loss of black wealth since the failure of the Freedmen's Bank back in 1870s, over 100 years ago. So when the housing crash happened, what did the American president Barack Obama do? He gave the people who crashed the economy more money and left out the people who were most affected by it, which was black people, because so many of us where her had been victims of these subprime loans. So this is a larger problem, but I think it underscores the failures of capitalism, of black capitalism too. On top of it, you're not going to work yourself out of this situation. This is something that, first of all, and you mentioned something about being married, but people do better. Have you noticed how toxic the black relationship spaces tend to be? You always hear women
Yes, sir.
say, well, I don't need a man. Hear men say, I don't need these women. Fuck these black bitches. Fuck these black niggas. I'm not doing this. I'm doing that. I'm not doing this. I need a man to pay all the bills for me. I'm not going 50-50 with no man. And the very same mentality is keeping us broke. Because you know who goes 50-50 on their bills? White people do. I see Hispanic people go 50-50 on their bills. I don't ever hear another race of people sit down and say they're not going to financially contribute to the home and put all the expenses on one person. I don't hear that. Maybe I'm not hanging with the right white people, but I don't hear white people saying that. That's black people saying this. And this mentality keeps us broke. And then you'll say, make more money. How many jobs can a person work in a 24-hour period? Right? But the married black people tend to do better. But yet here we are disdaining marriage, disdaining coupling. The very same attributes is going to keep us broke. It's nasty work, man. We need unity. Because there was a time when black people didn't have anything but each other. And we knew the only people we could depend on was ourselves. And it's getting back to that very quickly. The social safety net that America's had since the Great Depression, that's almost gone. We're going to be back to where it was prior to that, back to the Gilded Age. If you guys remember your American history class, the Gilded Age, you know, that's where we're going to be stuck pretty soon. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I appreciate that, Black Seal. Before I go to Buana, though, Jackadera, do you want to comment anything Black Seal had to say?
Uh, no, actually, he said everything that pretty much I agree with. But just to add more to what me and Black Steel were referencing is that, yeah, it might not necessarily be like I'm seeing in the chat, like institutions that build wealth. It's more about the drive, and where our quote unquote foundational Black Americans, the FBA and the ADOS, lack. And I don't think that they lack it much. I'm actually going to be one of the African immigrants that is going to actually stand on that and say, like, I don't think they actually lack it much. But I think wherever they do lack, the African and the Caribbean immigrants will pick up. I've just seen, over the course of me living in the United States over 30 years now, I've just seen so much from the immigrants, especially their drive, and I'm looking. I've seen this. Articles such as these: the black wealth will deplete, it will fall off, and I'm not convinced. I'm actually looking at everything that I'm seeing firsthand and saying this is going to go the opposite, and it's going to be a shock to many. And for those that will say, "Oh, well, you got another thing coming. The United States has this and that, system set up into place to keep the black man down, to keep the black family down." I don't believe in defeatist mentalities, and neither do these immigrants. You ask the average immigrant, like what. Sorry. There's like a bad echo coming in. You ask the average immigrant, like from the Caribbean or Africa, like what fuels them, and they'll often say, like, back in my home country, for me to be able to do the things that I do, I have to go through a whirlwind of obstacles. Versus in the United States, as long as I can find a bank to finance my education, I can get a degree. As long as I pass an interview, I can get that job. As long as I can get whatever disposable income, I can start my own business, taxi, catering, photography, you name it. And yeah, I just say, like, I'd say just watch, but 2053 is going to be, as close as it is, it's still a long ways away, but the world's going to be shocked. The world is going to be very, very shocked. Those descendants of those immigrants are going to be the African Americans of the future, and people are going to be proud, very, very proud.
Bro, defeatist attitude. What are you talking about?
So what I mean is, like, you'll see, um, you'll see comments, like in the chat, like, oh, like you guys got another thing coming, like America has this and that. One thing that the United States does do is that they respect nationality, and these immigrants are coming from their countries of origins, rather than with the African Americans. They've been here for 400 plus, and so they might not necessarily have that direct connection with a nation. Okay, hey, you're from Africa, but like, what specific nation? And so when some tomfoolery wants to be pulled, like a sabotage, right, of like a business, it's a bit more tricky, because again, like, that individual is being represented by a nation, because they can then just call their nation and be like, hey, this and this is going on. And I'm going to bring an example here. President William Ruto. Let me get serious for a little bit. President William Ruto of the nation of Kenya, when he was campaigning for his first run at the presidency in 2021, he came to the state of Nebraska, which I reside in, and he met with. Are you ready for this? He met with the Commission of African American Affairs, as well as the Kenyan diaspora here in the state of Nebraska. He was welcomed by the governor of Nebraska at that time, which was Governor Ricketts. Now it's another guy, but they welcomed President Ruto with open arms. What was discussed? One of the major things was that there was going to be a free trade agreement that they were going to work on. At that time it was President Trump, and allowing Kenyan goods to be transported duty free and vice versa the other way. So I say this is like, you have individuals that are backed by nations. America, just like any other Western nation, and I put an asterisk on this. They respect nations, especially when you're making money, because it's tax money for them. It's a win-win for both sides. Could I be wrong? Sure. I don't believe I'm wrong, because again, the solid evidence that I have is President William Ruto came to the state of Nebraska to meet with African American commissioners and talk about how we can have sister cities with Nairobi, Kenya, and Mombasa with sister cities of Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay, so this is what I don't understand, right? When Black people point to the systemic institutionalized policies that has kept us locked out of wealth, that has kept Black people poor, right? How is that defeatist? Because we're literally, for example, right, as a Black person who owns a home, Black people's homes are valued less than white people's homes simply because of the neighborhood they're in. So when Black people are literally losing, if, for example, if a white person owns the same house a Black person with, the white person gonna get more money. That's just an example. Look at all the fraud has been done by the banks. This is not a defeatist attitude. This is the fact we recognize that there are some real systemic issues and policies that have been done to keep Black people poor. Owning a business is not a pathway to wealth. And I guess that's really what the article is saying. Black people having college education, Black people owning businesses, owning homes. These are not enough to overcome a racist system. That's just the reality of it. Black people have been owning businesses since slavery. Black people didn't just start owning businesses. Black people always owned businesses. But when you have a economic system that is built on your subjugation, it's not a benefit to them. So even though some nation like Kenya might decide to trade goods, what happens when Trump decides to put tariffs on these people? International trade is about to go down. Look at what happened with all these companies, all these countries that are doing trade, like Venezuela, for example, which has some of the largest oil deposits in the world. Boom, sanctions, trade war. Now look at Venezuela. Look at all the other countries across the globe that are dealing with this. So this is not a individual way to outdo this. This is why we have to understand that there's certain avenues they want you to try. They want you to try those avenues because they don't really work. We have to step outside of the box that we've been placed in, and that includes home ownership and businesses. I would like to see you say these African immigrants are going to turn it around. I don't see how. If black people businesses, I don't think they're just talking about black Americans. I think this is something that's going to affect everyone in this country. I'll say it too much. I'm sorry, we didn't want to speak yet.
No, that's good. So I say sorry to Koku. I want to also add to this and respond to Black Steel. So by trade, I'm a home inspector, and I had the golden opportunity to travel to Houston, Texas, this past September and October to do ride-alongs with other home inspectors in Houston. Every home but one, and I inspected. Well, I did ride-alongs and shadowing with the inspectors down there. Every home that we inspected, out of the 17 homes, if I can remember, 17 or 18, only one was not Black American owned. So I say defeatist because there are other African Americans out there that are taking full advantage and are not listening to whatever nonsense that's out there that's saying like, oh, well, if we do this, then this is going to happen. If we do that, then that's going to happen. There's not as much of an obstacle as we like to think that there is. I understand well, maybe I don't fully understand the history of the United States and its race relations, but what I do know is what I've seen and what I've witnessed. And again, this is a recent experience that I had in Houston, Texas. And these homes were not, just to give you numbers, they were not 1,600 square foot homes, not 2,000 square foot homes. These were 3,600 and above square foot homes that all but one of 17 inspected homes were owned by African Americans.
Let me just, before we go to Buana, let me just read some comments here. Cheryl says, as far as I'm concerned, those immigrants can replace us. And she laughs. She said, yeah, those immigrants might have higher income, but they will never have more wealth. Two completely different things. We got a showing from Joe. Joe's out there saying good evening to everyone. So you'll say what's up to Joe. Cheryl says Black immigrants have no idea what they're in for in this country, but they're going to learn real quick in the next 3 to 4 generations. Cheryl had another comment earlier concerning whether or not we should be adding to this American capitalist imperialist agenda, but you guys can scroll back up and check out those comments. Afro Native World says, I think young people across ethnic groups look down on marriage. Cheryl says, but they let you over because they know you're going to enrich their institution. She's talking about immigrants. Okay. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, yeah, that seems to be the pattern now of the West, that marriage is bad or useless. This is why we should avoid modeling ourselves like the West and move away from that. That's just a few of the comments. There's a bunch more in there. Anthony said, Coco, damn, I tried. I missed streaming. Anthony, you were good in here for a minute. I was like, okay, nothing's happening. There's no messages about your camera. And I thought for sure we were going to get you on, and then you were gone. So if you could try one more time, let's see if we can get this. I'll try to get to you quicker the next time. Afro Native World says the Black Steel. A lot of Black immigrants don't want to hear all that. They are here to, quote unquote, succeed and will ignore what they consider negative perspectives to make it here. Our brother Kofi is out there, Kofi the Black Critic. He says, I understand both points. Blacks are under discrimination. Anthony says we have to remember not to generalize. All Black people in America aren't with that mentality, just as Black immigrants aren't. I agree with that, Anthony, 100%. Marcus Garvey is the way. Our sister Marcus Garvey's Ways out there. She says, good night, enjoying it so far. So thanks for being here. And thank you guys for all the comments, man. Keep them coming. I'll try to read as many as I can on the air. And you guys can have the crosstalk in the chat as well. So keep it going. With all of that said, Buana, you've heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to black wealth may fall in 2053, and what should we do?
Well, I don't really understand that. Well, I kind of understand it in the context because this is Black Enterprise. I think it's the magazine. But what I would say is that, by the way, I was enjoying that conversation, the dialogue between Black Steel and Jacadero just now. They had complex points, but I really did enjoy that conversation. But I don't know why. Um, well, I guess this is a Black American kind of conversation because, but even in the Black American context, why would Black Americans want to bridge the wealth gap with white Americans? I mean, the way that, if you understand how, well, I'm sure that the Americans on the panel do. If you were to understand how wealth was created in America, you know, a lot of gangsterism took place to even acquire that kind of wealth, where you have large swaths of land, and not only stolen, but a whole lot of genocide had to happen for this so-called wealth to be created in the first place. And to maintain that wealth, a whole lot of gangsterism had to happen. So the only way I see you bridging that wealth gap is to engage in the same practices in the way that wealth was initially created. I don't know if Black Americans want to engage in that kind of gangsterism or even maintain that kind of gangsterism. Because let alone, we all understand what corporations do. You know, from this very weekend, and how the CEO got splatted, you know, in front of the world. So I really don't know if African Americans are interested in maintaining that wealth. But for me, I look at it in a Caribbean context where I am. It's like, why would I want to bridge the wealth gap with the typical Englishman, knowing what the Queen and her gangsters did with the whole entire universe, and how she maintains that money and maintains that wealth. Well, she died with it and passed it on to her son. The only thing I could do is really go into to Buckingham Palace and extract wealth from Buckingham Palace, and engage in the same kind of gangsterism that she did with the whole universe. Her ancestors did with the whole universe. But besides that, I don't see there is no catching up. I don't see no time soon that Black people will be interested in going into these banks and taking all the wealth and property and then murdering all the white folks and doing the same kinds of things they did to the Indians, and then, you know, enslaving people and bringing them from Europe and then creating wealth off of that as well. I don't personally think that Black Americans have an interest in that. So in trying to bridge this so-called wealth gap, I don't know if they have an interest in engaging in the same kinds of practices and traumas. I don't personally believe that, you know, but they might, you know, they just might. So I don't want to speak for them. But what I am interested in is for us as Black men and women to bridge the productive value gap, being productive people, human beings on this earth, you know, bridging the innovation gap. You know, we need to be able to create we had this back in the day, but not so much right now. I don't want to create another Elon Musk, but people of his ilk, where you have great thinkers, great technocrats, great all kinds of different things in regards to industry producing kinds of people, and let that kind of wealth take care of itself. Because if you're already in a so-called free market economy where the roads are paved to you, but for you just get a business license and you can engage in any kind of industry that you wish. And if the market wants you there, you can improve your standing. You know, we need to get an industry. What industries do we own and control? You see, the small hats have Hollywood. They have a lot of the banking system. You see the Indians. The reason why you're seeing so many American Indians right now in terms of politics is because of the technocracy, the technology that exists right now is being fueled and funded by Indian sweat. Indian American sweat, Indian across the sea sweat as well, but really Indian American sweat. They're importing that kind of labor here because they understand that the Indians have a stronghold in the technology market, and they are creating a whole lot of money with that. Yeah, a whole lot of money. So now you're seeing them on platforms you didn't necessarily see them in the past. The Mexicans have the drugs market. They have the drug industry. For right or wrong, they have a lock on that. The Mexicans and Colombians. What industry? We could say that we have the music industry, but we don't own and control that industry. You could say that we are part of the athletics, what is NBA and all these football industries and things of that nature. We don't own and control these industries. We just labor. We are the labor in these industries. So I would like to see us being productive and creating industries for ourselves. But I am not trying to bridge this so-called wealth gap. I think that's for me that is delusional on many different kinds of levels when you really consider that. But I'll leave it there and let Anthony go because I see him on right now and I really want him to speak.
Yes, indeed. Anthony, how are you this week, first of all? Unmute your mic, brother. Look like Anthony froze up or something. Anthony, if you're there.
Anthony, you on dial up, brother?
Anthony using that Shreveport internet connection. That's a Shreveport internet stuff.
Man.
Yeah, carrier pigeon or something.
Yeah, boy. In the chat, Anthony. By the way, in the chat, Kofi said he's having a hard time getting on. So, Kofi, I repinned the new invite link to the top of the chat. I dropped it down in the comments. Just click that new link, and you should be able to get up on here without any problems. Cheryl in the chat says, "Bruh, what does owning?" Okay, hold on. Let's see if we can get this. Anthony, how are you this week? Unmute your mic. You can't hear me?
Hear us? We can see you.
That's strange. Yeah, we can see you clearly, but you can't hear us.
I can't hear nothing.
Put your microphone. Put your earphones in. Put your earphones in.
I can't hear nothing. I can't hear the show or nothing.
We can hear you.
You hear me?
No, but we can hear you. That's wild. And I have it where off-stage people can listen to the feed.
I can't hear.
All right then. We'll double back to you, Anthony.
He got to go out and come back and tell him put his earphones in and plug it into his laptop, and he should be able to hear us then.
I want to touch on something that Buana said because Buana made an excellent point about how white people got their wealth. I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of Americans, especially Black Americans, don't understand what it took for the European to get to where they are, right? They didn't gain control over the world because of their business savvy or their ability to make deals. They gained control over the world by the ability to use organized violence. And that says that, and really the question is, if Black people are really going to close this wealth gap, we have to engage in the organized violence that the white people did. And I don't think that that's something we're capable of, right? We're not out here massacring and committing genocide. Usually those behaviors tend to be frowned upon in most cases because you see what's going on in Israel, which is settler colonialism, which is that's all it is. They're just doing the same thing the Americans did to Native Americans, the same thing the British, the Boers did in South Africa. They're doing that. It's just in the 21st century. But there's really no difference. Are we willing to engage in manifest destiny and theft, destruction of the natural world? That's what got these white people over. Not any type of business savvy. And I think that when we talk about building wealth, like you said, closing the wealth gap, a lot of people are not aware that organized violence is what it's going to take to close that. It's not a matter of working hard or saving your money or not having a defeatist attitude. That is merely propaganda that hide the fact the true wealth builder is violence.
In the chat, Cheryl says, bruh, what does owning a home in America have anything to do with building wealth for black people as a whole? LOL. Owning those homes makes those immigrants feel comfortable living in white people's land. Anthony in the chat said William Ruto is a Western puppet, and the black political elite are also. They don't represent black people as a whole. Cheryl said because of slavery and the Stockholm syndrome causes black Americans to want to be near them, similar to how black immigrants want to enrich America. Yeah, Anthony doesn't have headphones, so I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. He was up here, but he can't hear us. That's strange.
Hey, bro, buy some $6 earphones for next week, bro, because I don't know if you'll be able to make it this week.
Yeah. And he's on a phone too, by the way. No laptop. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt? If not, let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3.
Oh, I do have a last comment. I believe in hard work. I believe in some places, not all, more so in the United States than these Caribbean countries, that merit your hard work, and people seeing your hard work and your ability to do certain things, improve your skill, will be recognized, and it'll cause you maybe to move up in a company and get a good standard, a better standard of living, better lifestyle. I do believe in these kinds of ideas. But when we talking about wealth building in terms of what has happened in the into the American context, or even in the Caribbean context, how wealth was created is an extremely important discussion. And don't get mesmerized, as Black Steel was saying and thinking, by believing that it was business savvy, but that business savvy was backed up by a whole lot of gangsterism. And I really don't want us to forget that fact. And it's been maintained by a whole lot of gangsterism as well. So if you understand that, then you will have a full idea why certain people have wealth and why certain people was denied of that wealth. That's a very important discussion, and context is important in that kind of discussion as well. So I'll leave it there.
Before I push on, 1 second. Before I push on, let me see if Anthony can hear us now. Hold on a second. Unmute your mic, brother.
Man, I still can't hear the show, man. Damn.
Oh, wow.
Man, it's fucked up.
Well, Anthony, hang out with us in the chat.
I can see it, but I can't hear it.
Oh, I'm talking like Anthony can hear me. Y'all in the chat, let Anthony know. Just hang out in the chat and give us commentary from the chat. I'll read it on air, right?
I done raised the joke up and everything.
I think Jacadero wanted to add something.
Yeah, last thing, it was said, what is home ownership? What does that have to do with the black wealth in the United States? As opposed to what is what I want to ask back, as opposed to living in apartments for the rest of your life. Yeah, you understand? I think we all need to understand that not everybody wants to just get by. There are some people that want to strive. And sure, is it in another man's land? Yeah. Let me tell you guys something. There are some individuals that, regardless of what situation, they want to make the best out of it. Because I'm going to speak for most people and say most people don't want to live in just what's the word, normalcy. Nobody just wants to just, yeah, that's it. We're going to do what everybody else does. There are some individuals that are like, no, I'm going to strive for more.
Cheryl in the chat says, said that she said to an African immigrant, you guys have so many skills. Why not work with people on the continent? It may involve revolution, But I find African immigrants and Black Americans are scared of that. I did want to ask earlier, because Cheryl kind of brought it up earlier. Does it make sense trying to strive? And Jacadero kind of mentions this a second ago. Does it make sense trying to strive in this white man's system called America? Does it make sense striving to build their dream? Right? You might make some shillings off of it, sure. But does it make sense putting our intelligence, our work ethic, as Black immigrants, as Black Americans, what have you? Does it make sense for us to really build this 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 empire? I'll just quickly throw that to the panelists, and you guys let me know what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, if you're in this country, right? If you're a Black person in America, whether they like it or not, your tax dollars go towards funding the war machine. Your time, your effort goes towards that. And many of us, I got to say, we're not, you know, outside of these ADOS, FBA clowns, we're not patriotic like that. Many times we just live here, just want to live our lives. Truth be told. But the reality of the system is that this is the United States of America. And this is a system that's built on racism. So, again, like I said in the chat, owning a home. If you're a Black person owning a home, when you send an appraiser to appraise your house, you're going to lose money. And you can keep your home as nice because that is America's racist. There's racial bias built into the system, right? I don't honestly think. Quick question that repatriation is a feasible goal, and I say that because there's 42 million Black people, maybe 45 million in the United States. It's gonna take probably centuries to move that many people to someplace else. And I was just talking to the U.S. What about the entire diaspora? Where are these people gonna live? It sounds good on paper, but it's gonna take that would be the largest. It would take hundreds of years to do that. Hundreds of years for that to happen. But that is not necessary though, because Marcus Garvey didn't necessarily need all Black people to come to the continent, but he wanted to create Black people building networks and creating with each other, so that way, no matter where in the world a Black person lives, right? They would still be protected. They would still have the benefit of an African nation. And I always remember what Malcolm X did. We talked about China. China endured what is called a century of humiliation, and now China is the world's probably second strongest economy. And during China's humiliation, things were bad for Chinese people everywhere in the world. It was said, it was an expression that you don't stand a Chinaman's chance, basically meaning you don't stand a snowball's chance in hell. There were lynchings and violence against Chinese people. The U.S. Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, right? But once China became a strong nation, they were able to support their people overseas. Therefore, it's the same principle for Africans in the diaspora. Where Africa goes, so goes the rest of the African people. So African people, as long as Africa is in a poor situation, in a disadvantaged situation, African people will continue to be that worldwide. So whenever I read Garvey, I don't think that the idea is that everybody got to move to Africa, but everybody needs to work together to build up Africa so that Africa is strong enough to protect its children no matter where in the world they're going to be.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I agree with that, and I also, this is as a side note, I don't know when this became a jab at Pan Africans, but this idea that you have to be on the continent to be a Pan-African is just simply ridiculous. That was never part of the definition, but it is part of the definition to um, lend your aid, so to speak, in building a strong Africa for the reasons that Black Steel would have just mentioned. Afro Native World says the same thing happened to him in terms of house being appraised low. It happened to my good friend as well too. Cheryl says there's a damn Chinatown in Nigeria as we speak. Why? Trigger Happy 262 Plus says repatriation has to be framed as a strategy of Pan-Africanists to go and build African states in order to project power, and not necessarily all Africans going back to Africa, which echoes what Black Steel was just saying. Trigger goes on to say in order for Black communities in the diaspora to thrive, they need the continent and its states to support them. Well said. Anthony in the chat says that it's kind of like being a maid and a butler in the big house. You get some benefits, but you're working for the house. Yep. Cheryl says, see, this is the problem. Black people don't think long term. We only think about tomorrow. White people think 100, 200 years in the future. That's the exact problem. Did anyone else want to respond to that last thing I had? If not, we can move on to Shoot the Breeze topic number 3. Okay, Shoot the Breeze topic number 3 says, how are popular athletes being politically educated and driven to these aspirations? Floyd Mayweather and Israel. This came with a link that's going to take us to YouTube. What we'll do is we'll play the video as per usual. It's only 6.5 minutes, and then we'll comment.
Floyd Mayweather, a name that resonates with strength, discipline, and an undefeated legacy. Known worldwide as a boxing legend, Floyd Mayweather has spent a lifetime fighting and winning. But recently he's championing a new cause far from the ring, one that has left an indelible mark on his heart. Stay until the end to discover the powerful moment that left even this world champion visibly moved. Since the tragic events of October 7th, Mayweather has been one of the first and most vocal figures to stand with Israel, visiting the country not once, not twice, but 4 times in just a few short months. He's come as a friend, an ally, and a true source of strength to those who need it most. During his latest visit, Mayweather returned to the heart of Israel's emergency response efforts, United Hatzalah's headquarters in Jerusalem. This visit came just days after he donated $100,000 to provide critical protective equipment for Israel's frontline responders. United Hatzalah unveiled 1,000 new bulletproof vests and helmets, thanks to his generosity, a donation that isn't just a gesture, but a lifeline, potentially the difference between life and death for these brave volunteers. Floyd Mayweather said the following: "Thanks for having me again. I'm very thankful. We're all about positivity, love, and peace, and we want to thank all the volunteers that help out within 90 seconds or less, because your job is not easy." For someone who has spent years mastering strength and resilience, Mayweather's words carry weight. He knows what it takes to fight, but this time he's here to support those fighting a different kind of battle, a battle to save lives. But Floyd's support didn't end with words of encouragement. He met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, sharing his admiration and a message to the world: "Your strength and courage are unmatched. Keep using your voice and never back down." His message resonates with everyone who believes in standing up for what's right. In recognition of his actions, Mayweather was honored with the Champion for Israel Award by Aish HaTorah, standing on one of the most sacred rooftops in the world, overlooking the Western Wall. Mayweather reflected on the moment, calling it some of the best real estate in the world. He added, "This place is amazing. Everyone should come and visit here." It's clear that Mayweather's connection to Israel goes beyond a single visit. But Floyd's bond with Israel began long before the current crisis. Back in November 2022, he made a surprise visit. He was drawn to Jerusalem's sacred Western Wall, the vibrant streets of the Machane Yehuda market, and even caught a Tel Aviv basketball game. What started as a brief visit has grown into a deep, lasting connection, turning a world champion into a true friend of Israel. During this latest visit, Mayweather was visibly moved by the life-saving work of United Hatzalah. He was impressed by their advanced CPR training, their dispatch center, and the dedication of every volunteer. Calling them world champions of life-saving, Mayweather shared his hope that others would adopt their 90-second response model. To him, these volunteers are more than heroes. They're the embodiment of compassion in action. Eli Beer, United Hatzalah's president, said the following: having Floyd Mayweather donate these essential bulletproof vests means so much to us. His unwavering support for Israel and for our volunteers truly touches our hearts, especially during these challenging times. Mayweather said the following: I stand with Israel against the Hamas terrorists. I stand for all humans and wish for the safe return of all hostages during these horrific war crimes. God bless America. God bless Israel. God bless humankind. These words are more than just a statement. They're a promise. Mayweather has gone beyond simply offering support. He's put his actions and his resources behind his words, demonstrating that he stands firmly with Israel and its people. And by the end of this video, you'll understand just how far he's willing to go to make a difference. What drives a world champion like Floyd Mayweather to take a stand in a battle halfway across the world? Could it be that he sees the same resilience in Israel's people that he spent his entire career embodying in the ring? Or maybe it's a sense of shared purpose, a belief that courage, compassion, and unity are worth fighting for, no matter the distance. What do you think? Can figures like Floyd Mayweather make a real difference in times of crisis? And what does it mean when someone of such influence and stature chooses to fight for others in a completely different kind of battle? Floyd Mayweather's commitment to Israel is a testament to the power of one's compassion. His visits, his donations, and his public stance remind us that even in the darkest times, there are those who choose to stand up for what's right, shining a light for all to see. What do you think? Has Floyd Mayweather's story inspired you? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Join the conversation. Subscribe to stay connected with.
Yeah, the thing about these athletes is that it's money over everything for them. It's money over everything for them. So Floyd ain't out there for free. Floyd know why he's out there. Floyd is about making money. And what gets me with these guys is make money, sure, but have some principles about you. Like these guys like Floyd who will tell you they ain't African. Mace, sorry, not Mace. It was Cameron who said something similar. These guys say what they got to say to distance to. First of all, they do these things because most black folks, like it was stated earlier in this broadcast, most black folks ain't really thinking too deep, and so they see this kind of thing and they just follow that because he's iconic to some black folks. They'll just follow whatever Floyd says. So they'll be all about Israel. A bunch of them are already about Israel because of religion, right? Israel's God is their God. And then you got a clown like Floyd, who's really just there to make his money, but they'll follow along with that. So this is what these guys are being paid to do. They're being paid to bring Israel into the sympathies of black folks. And Floyd and them, because they're kind of silly and because they're money hungry, they're grabalicious like that, They'll do anything for the little money that's being pushed their way, even downplaying their Africanness as well. So let me just get to a few of you in the chat. There's one person I'm going to get to real quick on the panel here. Buana, that thing that you posted in the private chat. Let me see if I could play it as well. Just a few comments. Trigger IB262 Plus said none of these athletes get any sort of political education. Major sport accomplishment places them in Europe. Typically, Cheryl said this, and I think it works in this prompt as well. I think it's from the last prompt, but I think it works with this one. She says black people are invested in multiculturalism. China thinks as a unit. They don't care about mixing with other people. That's the difference. So I think that works for this as well. Cheryl said he's a damn clown. Buana posted a YouTube video. You guys could check it out. Cheryl says, so you telling me he skipped over the whole of Africa and went straight to Israel? Fuck out of here. I agree with you. Last comment. I left this comment for last, even though it was posted earlier. Black Steel in the chat said, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Black Steel, I'll put it to you first. How are popular athletes being politically educated and driven to these aspirations? Floyd Mayweather and Israel. What say you?
Oh man, this was painful to see, man. Real talk. This is basically similar to how black artists went to South Africa during apartheid. You know, Tina Turner among them during the apartheid struggle. Who else? I know Stephanie Mills was another one. These black people just wanting to make their money. They didn't care what the crimes that were being perpetrated against their people, against black people overseas. They didn't care. So the question is, how are popular athletes being politically educated? They're not being politically educated. You know, they are told what to do and they do it. There's no political education involved with that. Because if there was, there's no way he would say Hamas terrorists. There's no way he would give bulletproof vests to people who are murdering children, right? There's no political education to be found. Someone is a political education in the room with us now? Because I don't see it. You know, there's no political education being told. We're a long way from the Muhammad Ali's of the world, right? He is truly, you know, he goes where the money goes. This man has no loyalty to anything but his pocket. He is the biggest example of a mercenary I could think of in this world right now. He doesn't care. I mean, but Floyd can't read. How you gonna politically educate somebody who can't even read? You know what I'm saying? Floyd doesn't have, you know, we talked about education earlier and being able to read maps and whatnot. Floyd can't read. How you going to educate him? You going to have what pictures? You got a picture book? He's not an intelligent man. He's not known for his intellect, right? So I compare Floyd with those black people, those black entertainers who are going to places like South Africa, like even Israel. I think Peter Tosh refused to play in Israel because he understood the apartheid that was being put against the Palestinians. Um, but here Ziggy Marley is going to, because his wife is Israeli of all people. Anyway, I'm digressing. Yeah, Floyd didn't get no political education. Floyd didn't get no education, period, let alone political. He had no political, no whatever. No, he's just not there. But he's a rich black American who whatever his handlers tell him to do, he's gonna do it. You know, and they weaponize him and his fame against people who are literally being murdered, who are being genocided to death. But you know, they dropped more bombs on the Gaza Strip than than they did on Japan during World War II. It's insane. They don't need his money because they recently did a study, right? How the Pentagon failed its seventh audit, $840 something billion unaccounted for. They don't need your money, Floyd. They don't need your money. And you'll skip right over. Do you know how they treat black people in Israel? Do you know that they literally were sterilizing the Ethiopian Jewish women, so they couldn't reproduce? But you want to go over there and sign hats and give out bulletproof vests, nigga, kill yourself. I'm done.
Just end it, man. Just end it right now.
I can't take no more, Coco. I'm mad at you for even putting the story on here.
Trigger Hobby 262 Plus in the chat said, if the principle is to get money, all bets are off, and they will move where the money is, evil or not. Cheryl said that Floyd chases white women. He's a Becky chaser. Anthony McPhail in the chat said LeBron James is even a bigger supporter of Israel than Floyd. KW7 says Floyd Mayweather is just another black weaponized entertainer, nothing new. Lastly, Cheryl says he skipped South Sudan, the Congo, and then she puts LOL. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. With that, let me hear what Jacadero has to say. Jacadero, what are your thoughts?
I'm on the contrary, actually. So first, congratulations to Floyd to meet a prime minister of a sitting nation. You understand? No matter what kind of controversy that they're under, how many of us are meeting prime ministers? You understand? Even the athletes, even the affluent of us, the movers and shakers of the United States, they're not meeting heads of nations. So congratulations to this guy. He's a boxer. Just think about this. He's a boxer and he met the prime minister that's currently in a war. No matter
Bro,
what.
are you serious right now?
You gotta let me finish, big dog. You gotta let me finish.
Oh my God.
You gotta let me finish, man.
You gotta let him rock. You gotta let him rock, Black Steel. Let him rock. Let him rock.
Black Steel, you'll get your chance.
I apologize. You
I
got
appreciate it. A boxer. Just think about this. A boxer from Grand Rapids, Michigan, met a prime minister. Like, just think, this is probably, he was in the Olympics. And even at that point, when he became an international boxer on an amateur level, he wasn't meeting with dignitaries, but he met the prime minister. He met the prime minister of Israel. Guys, you like, just really think about this. A boxer met the prime minister. He has no political background, and he met him. Okay? And I know some of you guys would scoff at that and say, oh my God, I don't know if I would meet the prime. Yeah, right. I'm telling you right now, any dignitary, it's an honor. Some of you guys will go the rest of your lives. Now, maybe, some of you guys will say, I don't have any political aspirations. And absolutely, yeah, that's fine. And you don't care. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. But just know that he did, though. He said, hey, I'm going to go on this trip to Israel. And if I get the chance to meet a dignitary, and he met the biggest dignitary of that nation. Second thing is, the conversation is, or this topic is, are athletes, what kind of political education are they getting? So we have to ask ourselves. Floyd said it himself when he was I followed Floyd pretty closely growing up because he was somebody that, just like me, grew up in the Midwest. Just like me, had a trade, and his trade was boxing, and he wanted to show it to the world, his talent. He got to a point where, after they snubbed him at the Olympics, I can't remember which year it was, but they gave him that loss. And he didn't get a medal. And he said he's never doing amateur boxing ever again. And he got to this professional level that he's at now, retired. So I bring that in relevance to where or what type of political education are our athletes getting? Well, if we're not getting to them,
Jack Derry, your audio dropped out. Can you guys hear Jack Adera?
No, I can't help. It went out for some reason.
No, thank God.
Oh, Jack
Never let
Adera
that
dropped.
man cook again. Take the utensils from him, dog. Don't give him nothing. Jesus.
Yeah, yes. We can hear you now, Jacker. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Serena herself, is off with another man that most of us would disapprove of, but also who, yeah, sure, Serena's dad was pretty prominent in her life, but it goes back to the saying, it takes a village. How many of us are getting there? How many of us are getting to these people? And if they're not getting a political education from us and from the likes thereof, then anybody else is going to get to them.
Yeah, so I was thinking about that too when Black Steel was speaking. Um, is it a failure that we didn't get to him? But I would counter that question, or I guess I'll answer that question by saying the only failure we had there is that we're not giving him the bag. And these guys are bought and sold, folks, man. These guys are bought and sold. And the problem is we didn't give him a bag, so he's not going to speak or do anything that's sensible towards us. So but I did think about that when Black Seal was originally speaking, because that's something that we do have to be mindful of, is that we got to start pushing, like Afro Native World in the chat, or who was in the chat at least earlier. We got to start pushing a more African centered education. And it doesn't have to be formally in a school, but at least at home, we got to teach our folks to be more African minded and not to find, joy in all these other in all these other types of folks. That's where the problem really comes up. So when that bag comes along, yeah, these guys are gonna go for the bag. But with that said, let me hear from Juan. You heard everyone else had to say. What say you?
Yeah, I appreciate Jackadero's comments because I don't mind the diversity of opinion, even though I may tend to disagree with some brothers from sometimes. I don't mind the diversity of opinions, but I would only help Jacadero a little bit if he may not be aware of this. But Muhammad Ali, when he fought in the Congo, he met a head of state as well. He met Mobutu Sese Seko at the time, and he was the president of the Congo. So this is not necessarily a new thing because when you are like a world champion, the heads of states like to meet with you. Like Mike Tyson would have met many heads of states as well. And I don't know if Mike Tyson gave so much deference to the state itself, after meeting these people. So you get introduced to heads of states when you are so-called, and this thing goes back to Jack Johnson. This thing goes way back. When you are so-called the head of state, or the world champion at something, usually heads of states want like Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt shook hands with many heads of states, but he still holds solidarity with Jamaica. I'm sure he has met the Jamaican Prime Minister. In fact, I was just at a party the other day drinking rum, and the Prime Minister came to the party with a bunch of his bodyguards. I mean, at the end of the day, I understand the idea of, since you watch these people on TV and you perceive them as great people, because the only time you get to see them is through the television screen. So they seem so far removed from what you are used to. But Jacadaro, I would only remind you, brother, that these are human beings just like you. No greater, no worse. One day they'll be shitting on themselves as you will be. Or you will forget that your name was Jacadaro once. If you get that old, these are human beings, brother. No greater, no worse, brother. And they are just like you. They only have positions of authority, but they are human beings. And when you break them down to this core, But let me also say this though. Israel is using an interesting strategy. Israel is recruiting, it seems to be, popular entertainers and artists for their own purposes. Like there used to be a rapper back in the day called Shine. This rap African, well, he is an African American. A rapper called Shine. He used to rap under P Diddy's label. Okay. Now this particular gentleman, he went to jail, and then he said that he, in his awakening, he wanted to be a Jew, some kind of Jew. So he lived in Israel for some time, and now he is the opposition leader of a country, a whole country. Now this man is freshly out of prison, and now he is the opposition leader of a country. And one would ask, how is that possible? Obviously, I believe that either Mossad or someone instructed him financially because he was on that Israeli kick, and they sent him back to Belize to be the so-called leader. Now he is allowed to come back in the United States, where so many people, when they get sent from the United States, they never have the ability to return. What is it with these people who get denied entry into the Americas all of a sudden because now you get the backing in some countries, you are freely able to go in and out of them. But I believe that he is a Mossad agent. I believe Shine is currently a Mossad agent now. That's a whole nother matter. One other thing I wanted to mention to you. One other thing I wanted to mention, but I can't even remember right now. But the Israel is. Oh, one last thing. Floyd Mayweather was one of his managers for the longest time. His name was Bob Arum. Now, Bob Arum grew up. He was like a Hasidic, very Orthodox Jewish person. So I believe that Bob Arum was a handler to this particular individual for a long, long time. So I'm saying no wonder the output, because just as Don King was a handler to Mike Tyson after the Italian brother died, I think that with this particular guy, Bob Arum was instructing him for a very, very long time, was a father figure to him. And I think that after a time, this is what the output is that you're currently seeing right now. But just look that up if you believe that I'm kind of like weird or off a topic. Bob Arum, he's been his manager for many years. But like I say, meeting with presidents and high officials is not necessarily a new thing, though. I don't think that's a new thing, but I'll just leave it there for now.
I want to. I'm sorry.
Shout out to. Oh, just 1 second. Shout out to. Shit. Who's out? Shout out to Jose, who's out there in the chat. Shout out to Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari is trying to get on the panel, and I don't know what's going on, man. Are you guys on the panel? Are you here on a laptop or computer or something like that? Or some of you here on a phone?
I'm using my phone.
I'm on
laptop.
my laptop.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, I don't understand. But real quick, Afro-Native World says, I think Shine appears genuine and wants to look out for his people. Everything he does and says now is all about beliefs. So that's a little comment to Buana, who mentioned Shine a second ago. Bakari, if you can, try to come back on again. I'll try to get you up as quick as I can. In the meantime, I think Black Steel wanted to go, and whoever else wants to go after Black Steel.
I want to thank Buana for that little bit of information. Cause what was his name again? His handler?
Bob Arum, Arum.
Yeah, I knew there was a son of Abraham somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? I definitely knew that. But I will say that meeting a head of state who is an international war criminal, who has an open warrant from the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity and war crimes, is not a flex. All right. And I was put in the chat. Jesse Owens met Adolf Hitler. That's not a flex. I'm sorry. And this is the problem, that the lack of principles that Black people have. We are unprincipled, unserious people. I gotta say it. Because there is no reason that this man meeting an international war criminal who responds for the death of thousands and the torture and the maiming. It's genocide here we're talking about. That ain't a flex. And if people think that's a flex, you got to look at your principles and what you value and what's important to you. Floyd Mayweather's not doing nothing but earning money. All right. So yeah, I this is nonsense, and this is un-African, unprincipled behavior. When we go, and you know what, I could talk about Israel's crimes without even mentioning what's going on in Gaza and the Western Bank in Lebanon. We can talk about how Israel supported South Africa during apartheid, how Israel helped South Africa build their nuclear weapons program and helped them try to develop biological weapons to kill Africans. This was done on behalf of the state of Israel. So him going there sends a message that he has no principles or values outside of his pockets. And yeah, we're gonna call Floyd a coon all day long and twice on Sunday because he is. And he's been one for years. So this is not somebody that we should support or organize or even admire how he moves. Because what gain the world? What's the profit? You gain the world, you lose your soul. And his soul is completely lost to the almighty dollar. We need to be principled in our arguments, in our organization.
Any other thoughts after what Black had to say?
Yeah, I want Cheryl Easy because we need to have this Shine discussion in a minute because she needs to explain to me where the hell Shine get this Belizean accent from because he was talking as like a New York. I know about code switching, right? But give me a break. So I wanted to come up and we need to discuss the Shine conversation one day.
Yeah, Shine is from Belize originally, but he was in New York for a bit doing his music thing with Puff and them, and we all know what happened there. Afro Native World asks a great question, but let me get to Bakari's comment. For some reason, some of y'all are trying to join the panel, but it looks like it's kicking y'all off or something. I don't know what's going on. Bakari says we call athletes like Floyd Jr. coon, but don't support the black athletes like Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. They actually speak up for black people on black issues. Me personally, I actually rock with Deontay Wilder until he started letting this white boy beat him up. And he's been looking bad in fights. The last, 4 or 5 fights, he looked real bad. But as far as them standing up for black folks all day, I actually appreciate those guys. Floyd, on the other hand, I never really appreciated him. I especially didn't appreciate him when he started talking about he ain't African and all that kind of stuff. So, Anthony McPhail says Bob Arum, the boxing promoter. Yeah, that's he was big time for a while. He's still around too. Afro Native World says, have you seen the Shine documentary on Hulu? I haven't. Maybe I'll check it out now that you mentioned it. If it's worthwhile, you let me know. But Afro Native World asks this question. He says, so y'all think Floyd is aware of everything, just doesn't care? I think Floyd has probably heard some of the talking points from a Black Steel. He just doesn't care. He's about making that money and being seen and all that kind of stuff. That's my opinion. But what about you guys? What do you think as far as Afro Native World's question?
I think that Floyd.
Right. I think he doesn't care as long as his money good.
Yeah.
I think he cares at all.
I think that Floyd Mayweather suffers from the same thing that Mike Tyson suffered from with his original boxer, a custom model. When you have these, because if you look at his relationship with his father, he don't really have a very good relationship with his. They always cussing each other out. Have a very hostile relationship, and I think that Floyd Mayweather had Bob Arum for the longest time as a father figure. And you have to be careful sometimes who influences you. Because I believe that one of the reasons why Mike Tyson was so messed up in the head for the longest period of time was because of Customato. Mike Tyson said he used to go to Brooklyn, where he was from, and rob people, black people who look just like him. And then when he would go back to Customato's house, it would be like he just is one of the family. Hey, how are you doing? Speaking just, I think, I think that level of contempt that he have for black people, maybe because of his foundation and where he came from, affected him in a bad way. And I think that with Tomato's help, I think that he helped condition him in a certain way in looking at the world. Just as this particular gentleman, just as you say, Floyd Mayweather can't read, who's more pliable? A person who has nothing in their head. So Bob Arum fill him with all the ideas of Jewishness and Judaism and Zionism, because Floyd Mayweather never had no kind of African-centered education or education to begin with. People always tease him about him being stupid. So obviously, Bob Arum put all the things that he believed in this guy's head, and this is the end result of it. You know, garbage in, garbage out. And this is the reason why, at the core, at your foundation, you must have some level of self-respect and self-love. Because if there's an emptiness there or a void there, someone is willing to fill it. And because this guy had the talent, Bob Arum used this particular gentleman very well, and this is the end result. So I mean that's what I'm seeing when I look at this cat, you know. But I'll leave it.
With that said, Jackadar, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Juana who said that it's common for boxers to meet dignitaries, and he mentioned, I think it was Ali, and he met with the head of Congo at that time, and that's fine. But Ali was also meeting with the likes of Malcolm X. You understand? Like he was political prior to going to Congo. Floyd Mayweather was never political, guys. That's what I'm trying to like. We're expecting Floyd to be politically aware when he just wanted to box, and there was nothing wrong with that. That's all he wanted to do, and he met the head of a nation that is arguably in the biggest war that we've seen in 40 years. You guys may have your guys' gripe with Floyd, but I'm looking at it as like, man, if this guy ever writes a book, I know it was mentioned that he can't read, so that's neither here nor there. But whenever he gets to tell his story, he'll be one of those boxers, unlike Gervonta Davis, unlike Jaron Ennis, unlike Nebraska's hometown hero, Bud Crawford. They're not meeting the dignitaries of the world, but this guy is. And again, it goes back to, if we're not getting to these people first, these athletes, who is? And
Cadero.
Go ahead.
But Jacadero, I don't mean to interrupt you, brother. But if Floyd Mayweather was to go to Ghana, the president of Ghana would meet with him as well. I mean, most West African countries, if he was to go, come.
That's not always that's not always the case, by the way. Just because
I'm saying that, okay. So
for the record, Floyd Mayweather did go to South Africa, and Floyd Mayweather did a whole thing talking about how proud he is to be the Africa, and he was over there with the people in Africa. And I actually played the video on my channel talking about how time it is for African people. And I'm not even a Floyd fan, but he done switched back since he said what time it is for black people to come back together, and how African people should be running these diamonds, and we should controlling Africa and nobody else. The video is actually on my channel. I showed it several times.
Good night. Good night, brother Macari. Thanks for cutting me off, by the way. Good night to you, brother. But anyways, if Floyd, well, as brother Macari said, that Floyd Mayweather met with the president of South Africa. So and he would, if he was to come to the Caribbean, I'm sure there are many Caribbean leaders who would want to meet with him as well. So the question now becomes, okay, so he met with this particular leader, but he also met with all these other leaders of these other nation states. So why is it so important for him to meet with this particular character? What is the thing where he becomes so politically conscious to, go out and bat for Israel, different than South Africa, different from Ghana, different from all the other countries Floyd Mayweather may have visited? What is the distinctive difference, that Jacadero?
I don't know, but what I do know is that we didn't get to him enough. We didn't have that impact on him enough. If anybody from our side even got to him, so we shouldn't be surprised. The people who listen, it's like this. They call it in the corporate world golden handcuffs, and what that term uh, translates to is that you want to pay somebody so well that they have a hard time either quitting or stealing from you, like embezzlement. And so, who's to say that like Floyd isn't in one of those situations where the money was too high? Now, sure, we can say, oh, should people be having money as their god? That's neither here nor there. I mean, I don't know Floyd, but what I do know is that what we're seeing, we at least didn't have an impact, if at all, if we didn't get to him. And then again, he's on top of the world. Now, again, you guys might say, oh, well, he's on top of the wrong side of history. I mean, let's say Bud Crawford, another boxer, a champion boxer out of Nebraska, he meets with Vladimir Putin, who is also a war criminal as well, that has an arrest warrant by the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, right? Would we have the same reaction? No, some of us would be cheering, and some of us would champion that and say, thank you, but I love it. But it's because of this situation that we're saying, like, because of our feelings towards Israel. Now I get it. They're winning a war, but people don't go to war to lose, guys. And I know that sounds really, really harsh, but nobody goes to war to lose. Again, this is not about war. This is more about Floyd and also what type of political education that athletes have. And if we're not providing that, if we're not getting to them first, and if we're not providing something that can be impactful, don't be surprised on where they go.
Let's welcome in Brother Bakari, who jumped the gun earlier. But let's welcome in Brother Bakari this week. Bakari, how are you? You have to unmute your mic, Bakari. All right, look like Bakari's not there. Let's welcome in our brother Kofi this week. Kofi, how are you? Can you guys hear me?
Some of us need to get off. Maybe other people need to get off so we can,
I can hear you.
No.
Tell this mic.
We can have 12 people on the panel on this plan that I'm on. So I don't know what's going on. I heard Bakari earlier. I don't know why we can't hear him now. One more time. Bakari, are you there? All right. Let me see what's going on here. Kofi says there's no volume while he's in here. I don't know why, because I have it where you could listen off stage. So I don't know what's going on here. Bakari, can you hear us? Let me see. Bakari, are you there? All right. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt? I'm trying to get Bakari and Kofi in, but I can't get them in now for some reason. I don't understand. In the chat, Cheryl says Betty won't go talk to Traore. Right? Betty won't go to Mali. Good points. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 4 tonight. I really wanted to hear what Kofi had to say, but for some reason it's not working. I'm going to have to reach out to these people about this because the plan states that I could have 12 people up on the panel. I don't understand what the issue is. So, Shooter Breeze topic number 4 tonight says, should a stepfather be required to pay child support if they have been involved with them since they were little? This came with a link that's going to take us to X. Let me make sure you guys can see it. Nope. Can't see it. Hold on one second. Let me fix this. This takes us to X, which you guys should be able to see now. Right? Yeah. This is a tweet from Alpha Fox. It says, should a stepfather be required to pay child support if they have been involved with them since they were little? We'll watch the video just over a minute. We'll watch it maybe twice, and then we'll discuss it.
It's not my kid.
Papers? You're signing these papers. You
I'm not
her
signing
life
nothing. No,
for
I'm not. I
7+
just told you I'm not
years.
signing this.
Since she's been born.
This paper, I'm not signing. I'm not signing that. You want this is your this is her decision to get divorced. So why should I pay for her daughter that's not mine biologically? Whether you think I adopted her or not, I took care of her.
Give
Okay.
us 15 and we'll figure this out.
Okay, you might need 15. You know what I'm saying?
You're just throwing away 7 years of being in your daughter's
You're throwing away
life.
7 years.
You raised her.
This was your idea, not mine.
You raised her. We were together.
This is your idea, not mine.
You know what?
Was it not your idea to get divorced?
Look, we're not getting anywhere.
Okay.
Let's just take 15 minutes to cool off and come
How you don't want to help me take care of Charlotte?
Yo, you being unprofessional.
How
right
you
now.
don't want to help me take care of
You're
Charlotte?
very unprofessional.
So what am I supposed to
Talk
tell
to your
Charlotte?
lawyer.
So what am I supposed to tell her?
Tell her that we
So
get
what am I
divorced.
supposed to tell her?
Okay, I'm
So
not
you
signing that.
just
Quit
walking
throwing
out
that
of
at
her
me.
life completely?
Yes, I am. I'm closing this chapter in my life.
Follow Masculine Craze for more relationship advice and tips.
It's not my
Where's the
kid.
papers? You're signing these papers. You
I'm not
her
signing
life
nothing. No,
for
I'm not.
7+
I just told you I'm not signing this.
Since she's been born.
This paper, I'm not signing. I'm not signing that. You want this is her decision to get divorced. So why should I pay for her daughter that's not mine biologically? Whether you think I adopted her or not,
and recenter in 15 minutes.
I took care of her.
Give us
Okay.
15 and we'll figure this out.
Okay, you might need 15. You know what I'm saying?
You're just throwing away 7 years of being in your daughter's
You're throwing away
life.
7
You
years.
raised her.
This was your idea, not mine.
You raised her. We were together.
This is your idea, not mine.
You know what?
Was it not your idea to get divorced?
Look, we're not getting anywhere.
Okay.
Let's just take 15 minutes to cool off and come
How
back.
you don't want to help me take care of Charlotte?
Yo, you being unprofessional.
How
right
you
now.
don't want to help me take care of
You're
Charlotte?
very unprofessional.
So what am I supposed to
Talk
tell
to your
Charlotte?
lawyer.
So what am I supposed to tell her?
Tell her that we
So what
get
am I supposed
divorced.
to tell her?
Okay, I'm
So
not
you
signing that.
just
Quit
walking
throwing
out
that
of
at
her
me.
life completely?
Yes, I am. I'm closing this chapter in my life.
Follow Masculine Craze for more relationship advice and tips.
Yeah, so that's an interesting scenario, right? One I've never really thought of. Well, I've actually heard someone got caught up like that before. They were dating a woman since the child it wasn't their child, but since the child was like a toddler or something, and she took the guy to child support and she won. She actually had to give up child support. I find that very, very interesting. You know what? Without further ado, let me start with Anthony and see if he can hear me. Unmute your mic, Anthony.
Anthony, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I'm unmuted tonight.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Volume turned up.
Can you hear us?
Volume turned all the way up.
Nah, I don't think you can hear us.
I can see me.
With that said, you know what? I'm just gonna have to deal with the people I have up here on the panel tonight because for some reason it's not working with other people who've joined after us. So we'll just stick with us for now. You guys, if you have comments, just leave them in the chat. I'll read them. Those of you who try to get on the panel like Kofi, Brother Bakari, and Anthony, just put them in the chat. I'll read them on air. The first comment we got is from Cheryl, who says the child support system is a scam. She goes on to say he would be fine taking care of the child without involving child support. Very interesting comment. I'm glad you commented because I really wanted to hear what a black or African woman would say to this. Let me mix it up a little bit. Let me start with let me start with Jacadero. Looks like Buana dropped off as well. Let me start with Jacadero on this one. Jacadero, what are your thoughts here?
I don't have much. I don't have much to add. You're walking into pretty much an established family. As a man, I don't know why you're not having any concrete thoughts about what it is that you're doing that's life impacting. So this guy, it's what's the word that I want to use? He did it to himself. The fact that he's in this situation, he did it to himself.
And we'll figure this out.
Okay.
Yeah, he did it to himself. He got involved with a woman that already had a child. I'm indifferent with that whole situation. If you want to get with a woman that already has a child, that's on you. But also think about everything else. And clearly, he didn't. Now he says in this clip that she brought up divorce. This is to all the fellas out there. I'm not a father. Never been married either. But just usually, the things, and I just go off of the things that I've seen. Usually, men that get involved with women that have kids, if it didn't work with that guy that she had kids with or a kid, you just have to ask yourself, why do you think you're going to be so special? This guy did it to himself.
Thank you for that, Jacadero. I do have a follow-up question, but I'll ask it at the end for everyone. I think it's important to frame it in an African-centered way too. With that said, Buana's back. Buana, did you see this video? Now, Buana having trouble now too? Buana, unmute your mic if you can hear me. All right, I give up. Let me see if Black Steel is still
Now
there.
I can't hear anything. The hell is this? Wow.
Buana, you can't hear anything? Okay, this is strange. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. I think I might have figured something out. Buana, can you hear me now? Buana, can you hear me now? No, I guess not.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, Buana, we can hear you, but you can't hear us. So, all right. Let me go to Black Steel. Black Steel, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I can hear you just fine. So legally, let me say this. You know,
Let me go to Black Steel. Black Steel, can you still hear me?
there's some echo there. So legally, if the father adopted the child, like they went through a legal adoption, she might have a leg to stand on, right? Because I know people who legally adopted a child, meaning that it's a legal responsibility of that child. Father signed off on it, or they didn't get the father to relinquish his rights, but whatever happened, they got a legal adoption. All right. Once that legal adoption was done, that is the child's father. So in a situation like that, she could get child support. Absolutely, she could. Now, if this man had the good sense not to do that, then she might be, she might not have a leg to stand on. But if dude adopted that child, then yeah, they can make him pay child support because now he's assuming responsibilities of the legal father. With that being said, he could also push for visitation as well if child custody, things like that, if he adopted the child. I think this is a skit, personally. I think because who's bringing a camera into a court proceeding or a mediation like this? That would be ridiculous. So I think this is more of a skit than anything else. But yeah, I think that is if he was just with her, dated her all those years, then I don't think that would be really a case for her. She couldn't really get child support. He could just move on with his life. She can move on with her life. My question is, why isn't the biological father already on child support? If you're in a relationship with this child, with this man, with you had a child from somebody, it's not your husband, y'all. Before you met your husband, the biological father should already be on child support. So instead of you getting your money from the child's actual father, you're trying to go after your ex who's not the father. Is it because your future ex-husband has more money, has a better job? than your baby daddy. I don't know, but I think unless he adopted that child, get the fuck out of my face. I'm not signing anything. And you don't gotta sign anything, honestly, which makes me think he didn't adopt her, because you don't have to sign anything, because the court will go after you for child support. You don't gotta. They'll ask you to present your wages. They'll garnish your check if they need to, but they're not gonna. You don't gotta sign anything, which makes me think this is a skit. She's just trying to be funny, or she's trying to get dude to put some money out here that he really doesn't owe. And she wasn't gonna get it anyway. You're not gonna get no money if you didn't adopt that child. That's not your kid. So move along. You know, best of luck in your future endeavors. But if he adopted her, then yeah, she might be able to get a little something.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. I'm going to try Buana again. Let me add him to the scene now. Buana, can you hear me?
I can hear. Yeah, I can hear you all. I can hear you all.
All right,
Can
good.
you hear me?
Different, yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
What
you, Juan.
Yeah, I'm on my. I had to go on my laptop. Yeah, I'm in agreement with Black Steel, with his assessment. But I understand where she's coming from as well. If you have assumed certain roles or positions, if you carry the privilege of messing with this lady and the child, having a relationship with them for a series of many years. Now, if you have that privilege, obviously you carry some obligations, uh, even though that obligation may have not been signed off in paper form, or if it may not been put to legalese into documents in terms of uh, um, adopting that child. I think that just as you have common law marriage, I think that you should have common law parentage.
What?
Where you are assigned. No, hear me out. Relax, hear me out. Hear me out. I think that if you've been no, Black Steel, you've been playing Black Steel, you've been playing daddy for several years, brother, several years. Not only that, you have been having access to that mother for 7 friggin' years. Okay. Now, I think that there is a obligation that comes along with that, and it may not necessarily be on paper in paper format. I would say I'm married to this woman, or I have legally adopted this child. It's assumed. It's implied. It's implied. It's implied. So I think that you should carry some of the responsibilities. Now I understand the other side to that argument as well, Black Steel. I do not believe his argument is just as legitimate. I think that he says that this child is not biologically mine. Why do I have to assume the responsibility of the child after I'm not no longer with the mother? But you take on that you take on an unassumed role when you have a relationship with the mother. You take on an unassumed role with if the mother has children, you take on the unassumed role as that child's parent. If you in a relationship with that child, it might not necessarily be signed off on or put into legalese, but you take on that role. It's implied. It's implied. So I understand how she feels, but I also understand the other side of that argument because it's not biologically my child. And that's always his trump card. Yes, I did assume the role of father, but biologically that is not my child. Why should I have that responsibility? But you played that role for 7 friggin' years. How do you ignore that? How do
Man,
you walk
fuck
away
them
from that so
kids,
easily?
man.
So I understand two sides of the argument. That's all I'm saying. That's
Man,
all I'm
fuck
saying,
them
man.
kids, Juan. Listen, let me say this, man. If I still got to be responsible, I mean, here's the thing, man. Old girl, it's a package deal, right? So if I'm dating you, obviously, if I'm in a relationship with you, I'm expected to do something for that kid,
Ooh, I
right?
can't hear nothing.
Once the relationship ends, we're done with what are we talking about here? Like, go after that child's
Okay,
father to
maybe
get
it's
the money
me,
from
but I
them.
can.
Trying to get on the can here.
No, continue,
I hear
Black Steel.
you,
Go ahead.
but what you need to
So if she really valued that relationship, she would try to work it out with that man so he could stay involved in that life. What she trying to do was have her cake and eat it too. So she can leave the relationship but still get the benefits financially of him taking care of her child. So that means if you leave, can I still get them cheeks when we leave the relationship? Fucking kids, man.
That's an excellent question. Do you still have access to her?
Yeah, but you want access to my wallet.
This is the teacher. This is the teacher talking about fuck them kids. So you understand his stresses. But I think that I just see two sides. I just see two sides to this argument. But I understand where you're coming from. I just see two sides to it. I guess I feel like I see two sides.
If you understood the amount of referrals I had to write last week, you say fuck them kids too, sir. Okay.
Here's the
thing. listen. My lady's a teacher, so I understand y'all be on some fuck them kids kind of thing.
Here's the thing, and I'm gonna try to come back. I don't know what's going on with this thing, but try to come back if you can. Here's the thing. What if the situation was reversed and he had the children and she didn't? And he was trying to get divorced. Does he have a way to get something from her to keep her around as the mother figure for these children? No.
Statistically speaking, Koku,
pardon me?
From a statistic standpoint, women default on child support more than men do.
Women get forced for child support more than men do?
Women fall into arrears more than men do.
Okay.
Yeah, because even though they rarely have to pay it. When they do pay it, they tend to fall behind and not pay more so than men do, because they're not getting locked up the way men are when we don't pay. I'm not pay child support, but in general.
Right. Yeah, it's to me it's unfair, and it's like, well, where's this child's father? Right? Where's this child's father? And this brings me to the African-centered part of the discussion, I guess. As African people, traditionally, I guess before pre-colonial Africa, I guess you could say it was a thing. Even like in the Caribbean, like when I was born and before, it was a thing where you will take up other people's children and help to raise them and this, that, and the other. So on an African-centered level, should this man still look to raise this child and be financially obligated to this child? Because that's really the problem here, right? The problem here is that she's trying to put him under letter of the law type stuff, right? Him signing a piece of paper that he's going to be financially obligated to this young child. My question is, should he do it because as an African, assuming that he's black, because as an African, he's supposed to do that? Should he do that and just accept the financial loss?
So
Anyone can answer.
Let me ask you this question. In many cultures in Africa, right, from my understanding, all children in the village belong to the village. So every male in that village was that child's father. Every woman in that village was that child's mother, or every child was their brother and sister. That's how it used. And I might be mistaken, but there was almost like a sense of, connectedness with every adult in the village. That's my understanding, right? He ain't in her village no more. Go find the child's daddy. We're not, you ended the relationship with me, right? It sounds like it was a decision she initiated, right? That means she got to hold that. She got to hold that. Period. This decision, and this is to me, when people file for divorce, right? They're not happy. Women file for divorce like 80% of the time anyway. So she filed for divorce, right? But in her mind, she still should receive the same benefits as if she was married. So, but she's not married anymore. And he has no legal obligation outside of him adopting that child. Even in the African centeredness, the children belong to the children of the village. Okay, that means you need to move around and talk to somebody else in the village. He don't got to mistreat the child. I'm not saying he got to beat the child up. he can still see the child every now and then. But as far as me being legally obligated to have my wages garnished, no, no. Ain't no part of Africa in that.
I agree. I would not want to be I would not want to be legally responsible and liable. However, if this child was, let's say, 17, and I have known the child since the child was 3, she only know me as pops, daddy, whatever. I didn't even if she don't call me daddy. We have that kind of relationship. So 17 comes, and this lady wants to live a hot girl life, a fabulous life, wherever she wants to go live it. But the child comes to me and say, "Pops, really need some gas money. I need to get to work. I don't have no gas. Mommy tripping. She don't have no money. Can you give me some money?" Am I gonna say, "You're not my child, go away from me"? No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna reach in my friggin' pocket and I'm gonna give the child $20. That's no sweat on my back because I have a 17-year relationship with the child. People are taking the child out of the equation and only looking at the willful actions of the woman. And I'm saying, the child ain't do nothing. The child still sees me and perceives me one way. Now, if I'm not gonna go so far out of pocket where I owe myself for years, but if the child asks me, say, "Pops, I need to go to the movies tonight. I really want to take my girls to the movies. Can I get $50?" I'll reach in my goddamn pocket and give the child $50. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? I mean, I don't know, man. I just see it differently than Black Steel a little bit. But as far as legally responsible, I understand where you're coming from with that, brother.
I'm not against what you're saying, Juan. That's because you're doing it because you
Okay.
choose to.
I am speaking, but I cannot hear anything.
We're speaking. We can hear you. Can you hear me?
Not sure if anyone can hear me.
We can hear you. Can y'all hear her? Am I the only one who can hear her?
Yeah, I hear her, but I don't think she hears us.
I wonder if she's on her phone or a laptop.
I don't know.
Are you on the phone or a laptop?
In the meantime, Buana, go ahead. Sorry, not Buana. Black Steel, finish your thought.
No, I'm just simply saying that if he wants to do that as a result of the kindness of his heart, that's perfectly all right. My only issue is the legal aspect of it. You get the courts involved and talk about garnishing the wages and whatnot. That's the problem that I have. Other than that, if you want to be nice and be kind, still be there for the child, that's perfectly fine. But it's when you start talking about, oh, you signing documents and having to present your income and everything else like that. Yeah, I'm not okay with that.
You still
If
can't
she,
hear us?
if she can hear this, try taking off your camera and then just using the audio, because what had happened to me when I got in his or when I was trying to get in is I was trying to both use the audio and video and it was an issue for me. So try just using just the microphone and not the camera.
Look like Anthony came back and he can't hear anything either. So I tell you what, guys, don't try to come on tonight because we're going to end soon anyway. I'm going to figure out what the issue is. I'll try to during the week, and I'll make room for all of you guys next week. Like I say, on the plan that I'm on, 12 people could be on the panel. I don't understand why it's a problem. So hit me up next week, and we should be able to do it. In the meantime, post your comments in the chat, and I will post it.
We can hear you. Can you hear us now? Hello, hello.
No.
This
All
thing is
right.
crazy.
She
Uh,
can't hear us. No.
yeah, they can't hear us. So we'll just progress with the few of us who's here now. Again, you guys post your comments down in the chat, and I'll read them. Someone's mic is open. Um, I have one more topic. Can you guys go one more topic?
I'm good. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, this will be the last topic for the night. Uh,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
all right. Shooter Breeze topic number 5 tonight says, wait, hold on, is that the right one? Oh yeah. Shooter Breeze topic number 5 says, is music getting more wholesome as time goes by? This came with a link that's going to take us to X as well. I'll play the clip and I'll play it and then we'll discuss it. So this comes from Vince Langman. It says, "OMG, I haven't laughed this hard in a long time." So let's check it out.
And what really killed me was last Christmas, we canceled a song that was written in the 1940s called Baby It's Cold Outside. People were triggered by that song. Radio stations wouldn't play it. They said it had toxic masculinity in it, and they said that the lyrics had suggestions of male sexual aggression, which is fine if you feel that way. But at the exact same time, the #1 song in this nation for over 2 months was entitled Wet. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not making that up. Google it. Check me out on that. I'm not lying. For over 2 months, the #1 song was played on the Grammys. It also won the Best Hip Hop Song for the American Music Awards and the People's Choice Awards. And so I thought it would be fun to compare and contrast the lyrics of these two songs to see if indeed this country has lost its mind. Now, let's begin with the horribly offensive Christmas song written just after World War II, Baby It's Cold Outside. I really can't stay, baby, it's cold outside. I gotta go away, baby, it's cold outside. This evening has been so very nice. Yeah, you f***ing with some wet ass. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass. Beat it up, N-word, extra large, extra hard. Put this in your face, swipe your nose like a credit card. My mother will start to worry. Beautiful, what's your hurry? My father will be there at the door. Listen to that fireplace roar. Well, maybe just half a drink more. Spit in my mouth. Look in my eyes. This is wet. Come take a dive. Talk your shit, bite your lip, ask for a car while you ride that dick. My sister will be suspicious. Gosh, your lips look delicious. My brother will be there at the door, waves on a tropical shore. Well, maybe just a cigarette more. I need a deep stroker. I need a weed smoker. Not a garden snake. I need a king cobra. I don't want to spit. I want to gulp. I want to gag. I want to choke. I want you to touch that little dangly thing that's swinging the back of my throat. I submit to you that this nation has lost its mind, everybody.
That's a good comparison. I have to laugh at the contrast there. With that said, let me just mix up. Let me start with Buana this time. Buana, you see what the topic is. Is music getting more wholesome as time goes by?
It depends on the kind of music that you are listening to, because like I still listen to Barry Salmon. I'm a Barry Salmon fan. So it depends on the kind of music you're listening to. There are many genres of music. If you're talking about popular American music, I think that through time the music, I think it's more or less stayed the same. It's more or less stay the same, because if you listen to some Southern country music songs, there was gangster friggin'. If you listen, not Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash. Go listen to Johnny Cash music. Johnny Cash was singing about some gangster shit, but murdering men and being in wholesome prison, thinking, well, and Stagger Lee and a lot of the blues music was very vulgar so-called vulgar back in the day. I think that the music more or less has stayed the same. I think that when you really look at the genres of American music, a lot of the music has stayed the same. I think that we consider it to be wild, but I think that it just depends on the type of music. Jazz still jazz. When you listen to Kim is singing about the things that this narrative is projecting. You talking about rap music. You're talking about hip hop and certain types of rap music. I don't listen to Nicki Minaj or wherever this crap is from. I don't listen to that. So I just think it depends on the kind of music that you are speaking to. And for what he is talking about, of course there's a contrast. But if you're talking about not Willie Nelson music, because Willie Nelson is singing about friggin' weed and shit like that, but Johnny Cash and all these other singers from back in the day, that they used to sing about gangster things in their genre. So I think it just depends on what you're talking and comparing and contrasting. Because it's too simplistic to put it in this format and context. This man is a comedian, so he's just trying to prove a point. But it's stayed for me. If you understand what music is, it stayed relatively the same. Relatively the same. Dancehall music was raunchy back in its day, and he's talking about what's the song? I can't remember now. But a lot of dancehall music was raunchy back in the day. They singing about the same. Buju Banton was singing about Mr. Nine back in the day, and now you see Vibes Cartel singing about gunman music, and Bounty Killer singing about the same gunman music. It just depends on the genre of music that you are specifically speaking to. I believe, but I'll leave it there, Coco.
I don't know, Buana. You say the music is the same. I don't know that. What song in '75 was like WAP? This song that this white guy is contrasting. What song? What mainstream song in 1975 was like WAP?
You ever heard this song by Lloyd Kish? You ever heard a song by Lloyd? I think it's Lloyd Kish who sing about saltfish. When he sing about eating
Sparrow.
pussies. I forgot to remember the name of the song. Sparrow,
Sparrow. Yeah.
Sparrow, Sparrow singing about eating coochie back in the day, bro. Yeah, I mean, so it's like, what are we talking
But
about? What are
but
we talking?
but no. When Sparrow was singing about that, in fact, you'll see some memes and stuff on the internet today with adults our ages, and they'll be like, "Man, I shouldn't have been singing this song at all back in the day. I just now realizing what they was talking about." When Sparrow was talking about saltfish, ain't no one know no child knew what he was talking about. No child. I
All the
know that
adults
song.
did. All the adults did though. All the adults did.
Yeah. The adults could put two and two together, but a child knows what WAP is about. Ain't no denying. I mean, listen to the lyrics that this guy just read off. There's no denying a child knows what WAP is today. So it's wildly different. It's
you
wildly
what
different.
you what you say- what you saying is now it's not put into the analogy, it's more in your face, but it's the same content though. It's the same content though, Kofi. We did use metaphors, but it's the same exact content. That's what I'm saying. It's the same content.
Now I think once it's done in metaphors, it's not the same content. But I get what you're trying to say. But like Kofi said in the chat, uh he would use metaphors. Nowadays, they just tell us exactly what the fuck it is. I mean, a song called "Wet Ass Pussy." That's the name of the song. This shit is wild. This shit is wild. But anyway, that was one. Let me hear from Black Steel this time. Black Steel, what say you?
So Koku, you made me think I shared this song from like the 1930s. It's some fucking ragtime called "My Girl's Pussy." Okay, so this is back in 1931. All right,
But was
so
it mainstream though?
there's a song. So there's a show on HBO called Boardwalk Empire. I don't know if you heard it before, but anyways, in the
Yeah,
song,
like it, yeah.
the dude is singing the song. So I'm assuming it was mainstream enough back in the 1930s that people knew it, right? Um, but I will say this, right? I believe that raunchy, risque music has always existed, right? But to your point, it hasn't been so widely available, right? Many times people would play music like that. They would wait till the kids went to bed. They wait till they go someplace where there were no kids. They wouldn't be exposed to that. So I do see what you're saying, and I do believe that young people shouldn't be exposed to every song that's out there or everything that's out there because they're young and their brains can't always process it. I don't think that this type of music is bad because we're grown, we're adults here. But I do think the issue is that it's too available. But then again, that's the nature of our society. There's nothing that's sacred anymore. You have a smartphone, you can download anything. You have access to anything. Um, but I don't necessarily see anything inherently wrong with having that type of music. It's just that it shouldn't be for everyone's consumption. Um, at least I think personally. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it was very funny comparing the two, but like you said, it's a number one hit like that, and Billboard awards and number one song. So I get it, but we live in a sexualized culture. Number one, sex sells. It always has. Um, Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, whatever. I think there's bigger things, bigger fish we gotta fry. I'm not saying that children, but again, I don't think that kids or young people should listen to the song. But the problem is that parents aren't really parenting anymore. So whatever they listen to, the kid listens to. We used to be a time you get in the car, you listen to something that you should be listening to. All right, I'm cut it off, or you put on something else. Like when I was younger, I'm in the car, listen to my gangster rap, or whatever. When our son was in the car, I wouldn't listen to that. I changed the song, because I didn't want him to listen to that. Here I am going off to work and I'm rapping about people robbing, killing people, selling drugs. That's not what you really want your kid to listen to. But me as an adult, I know the difference between the two. But I would just change the song. Okay, my baby's in the car. Let me change it up. I don't need you to listen to this. I don't need her to listen to this. Nowadays, just they listen to the song with the kids. The kids know the words better than the parents do because the parents don't have control like that they used to. Because between the smartphones and the iPads and everything else, everything's at their fingertips, and that's a gift and a curse at the same time. So I'll stop there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that song that you were talking about, I'm going to play a piece of it in a second. But in the meantime, let me hear from Jackadero. Jackadero, what say you?
All right. Just like Buana had said, the music has, and I agree with Buana. It has stayed the same. Context has stayed the same, but the provocateur has changed. It's more blatant than anything. But to give you examples, I love examples. Let me give you an example from 1979. The track is called "Ring My Bell" by Anita Ward. It was a disco song written by looks like a man, and it peaked at number one in 1979 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100. Let's go ahead with the context that I'm referencing. The lyrics, "Ring My Bell" by Anita Ward went, "I'm glad you're home. Now did you miss me? I guess you did by the look in your eye. Well, lay back and relax while I put the dishes away. Then you and me can rock a bell. You can ring my bell." And then just a repeated bar for three more bars. So, ring my bell. For those that have imagination, use it. I'm sure you know exactly what is being.
Well, look what you said there, Jackadero. Because what you read really didn't do nothing for me. I'm like, okay. Right? But it's when you said, if you use your imagination, I ain't
Yeah.
had to use my imagination for WAP, though.
So what I said was just like Buana said, the context has been the same, but the blatancy of the provocateur has changed. Yes, it is a lot more abrasive now. But nonetheless, so when we look at this song, Ring My Bell, the writer of that had stated that he he wrote this song and the lyric "You Can Ring My Bell" was sexually subjective, But when he wrote this song, he said that he deliberately avoided any overly subjective lyrics because he wanted to project a clean cut image for her, Miss Anita Ward, the singer. And so songwriters now are just like, I don't care anymore. But it's still there. Just to give you also like backup to me and Buana's point is that this song, 1979's Ring My Bell by Anita Ward, was included in Billboard's magazines as one of the songs listed in its 50th sexiest songs of all time. It's always been there.
Yeah,
So,
Joe
So I
says
see.
with the yeah, it's a sexy song, but
But I see that. But can I respond
No,
to that?
Jackadero,
Hold on.
Jackadero, don't mind these hypocrites. Don't mind these hypocrites. When Trump,
So may I respond?
hold up. When Trump comes into office and takes them back to the Handmaid's Tale world, and where you only listening to "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas" and shit like that, they'll be complaining then. So don't worry about these hypocrites on this platform right now.
So I have a song from Lucille Bogan from I believe like 1920 something, where she says, what does she say? I got a big fat belly, I got a big broad ass, and I can fuck any man with real good class. Talking about fucking, talking about grinding baby all night long, and I can do it to you, honey, till the cows come home. So this is back in the 1930s. She might give Cardi B a run for her money. I don't know. She she might give Cardi B a run for her money, from what I can see here.
how high did that reach on the radio?
I have no idea. They didn't have a. She said you got a deal on your baseball.
I bet you it wasn't on the radio because I've heard that song.
You heard that song before? I don't know they had radio like that back then. But that probably wasn't a Billboard hit back then. It was let me see. Oh wow. This song was written, I'm trying to see, 1924. So yeah, that's probably not too many that probably wasn't even available back then. Most people probably didn't even have radios back then. But yeah, this type of music was all. I mean, it probably was on the radio because they probably played it at the juke joint, but at the speakeasy or whatever, and there wasn't no kids
She was in,
allowed there.
she was in heavy rotation at the juke joint.
That's like so where I grew up in Nassau, on my corner we had a bar called Tip Top, right? On Tip Top, them alkies in the daytime used to play a song, stroking. I've been stroking, and it's like goddamn, like
Right, I've been stroking. Yes.
how much
I know
times you
that
gonna listen
song.
to that song, right? How much time you gonna listen to that song in one day? But again, that wasn't on like top radio hits and all that kind of shit. That was like a thing that happened to the side somewhere, and again, children wasn't really exposed to that. I see Kofi came back on. Let me see if I can get him up. Kofi, can you hear us? I'm guessing Kofi still can't hear us. I tried, y'all. We'll try again next week. With getting more people on. But so Kofi, thanks for trying again. But I can't get I for some reason I can't get it to work. And so I'll have to try again next week with it. But before we go, that was the last topic. Is there any last thoughts on that topic? And if not, what are your positive shout outs for this week?
I would want to shout out the Sahel states. I think normally I think Anthony shouts them out, but they recently announced that Nigeria is working with the French to I guess they're training their soldiers. So I believe an attack.
I can hear you. I can't hear you on this app. I gotta
Can you hear me now? You said have your YouTube open.
Yeah, he listen. He listen on YouTube.
But yeah, so yeah, I'll say that just I think that they're getting ready for an attack on the Sahel states. We just got to be careful now that Syria has fallen in the Middle East. I do think a lot of those jihad once the Middle East has been pacified, uh, those same jihadists are going to turn their eye towards Africa. So we just got to be real careful, get ready for the incoming firestorm that's going to happen. This beast is they're feeling itself. They're worried about their continued dominance. So they're going to be willing to do anything they can to keep themselves in control. So the Western hegemon is even more dangerous now that it's got its nose a little bloody.
Appreciate that, Black Steel. Jackadero, what would you like to shout out this week? Besides white women or some shit. Some
Why y'all looking this man?
besides Prime Minister Netanyahu. Okay,
Hey, man.
I see you, Goku. I thought it'd be your own kind, huh? That's how you'd go do me, huh? On the United States side, we one of the first topics that we had talked about, besides the beauty pageant, was wealth building in the Black American community in America. I'm here based in Nebraska, and one of the groups that does empower, and throws yearly conferences for networking, meeting the movers and shakers, not only in the greater Omaha, Nebraska, but also all across the United States, especially Tulsa, Oklahoma, working with Black redevelopers, real estate agents, and the likes thereof, is the Empowerment Network. And they put on a conference every year called Rebuilding the Village. So I'm going to post this link into the chat. It's an event that is encouraged for all over. This past year, I met individuals that are the movers and shakers in Pittsburgh, PA, Houston, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri, and so many more other cities that memory doesn't serve me correct. But it's the Empowerment Network in Omaha, Nebraska, and again, they put on a yearly conference called the Rebuilding a Village Conference. I encourage those of you that want to see what Omaha's about, as well as meet with other individuals that want to build that Black wealth that's recorded to be depleted by 2053, and seeing how these guys are looking to turn the tides on that.
Appreciate that, Jackadera. And don't be a stranger, man. Jackadera is one of the first people to really engage me, if I remember correctly, on this channel. So I do appreciate you. Don't be a stranger. Come through whenever you can. With that said, Buana, what say you?
Yeah, first let me say shout out to Nebraska. I think that's the birthplace of Malcolm X.
Yes,
So
it
shout out to
is.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
shout out to Omaha.
Sorry to interrupt you, Buana, but last year, the state of Nebraska inducted him into their Hall of Fame as well, and he has his own statue in Lincoln, Nebraska now. So that's awesome that you know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So shout out to Nebraska and Nebraskans, Black Nebraskans. Jackadero, you seem to be a very progressive brother. Keep doing what you're doing. Also, let me say that shout out to the Sahel states like Black Steel. I echo his sentiments. That what they are trying to do is trying to relinquish themselves, really, and free themselves from the chains of colonialism. In particular, yeah, Traore is one of my guys. I really watching what he's doing very, very carefully and trying to build his nation up. And he recently established this gold mining thing in Burkina Faso. So it's just interesting to see how he is trying to recreate that nation. And as Black Steel was saying, the dogs of war, France in particular, are trying to reestablish themselves in them areas since being kicked out. And they are using leaders like Tinubu in Nigeria and Kofu in Ghana. Unfortunately, they are being used as willful puppets. But I believe that they will be successful in this stride for independence, and I believe that they will be successful in winning their freedoms, real freedoms on the continent, and trying to establish themselves as competitors in this world. Again, shout out to all the brothers and sisters who actually came on and tried to give it a good try and listen and come in and try to contribute. I'm sure Koku within this week he'll take care of the situation so people will be able to easily come on and give their contributions and have their voices heard. So shout out to everyone who contributed tonight as well. Respect to y'all guys.
Yes, indeed. I'd like to echo that last thought. I'm going to work on it, try to figure out what it is. That's the problem. Like I said, 12 people can be up here, and if we can get 12 people, that'll be wonderful. We used to get that close to that number back in the day. Let's try to get back there. So that's the show for tonight. We'll be back next week. I don't see no reason why we shouldn't. So we'll be back next week. In the meantime, you guys join the Discord if you haven't already. Post your topics for Shoot the Breeze, and your topics will be discussed here as well. Thank you guys for all the comments and whatnot from the chat. Much appreciated. Make sure to share the show after it's posted. And by the way, you can also come back afterwards and post some comments under the show as well. So, and also shout out to Provide Triggers for Evolution. Haven't seen you in a while, probably traveling. Shout out to the matron. Shout out to Marcus Garvey as well. I'd like to see more women come and get involved in these discussions. So shout out to all of you. Like Cheryl said, great show as always. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.